agreement. Those who instituted the criminal proceedings did not foresee the possibility down the line of recovering assets and never engage in any asset, recovery process. They did not trace, to find out what assets were in the hands of third parties, including those who were in court. Monies didn't go out to anybody. These were just book entries that were designed to make the books of UniBank look good. That is how come that in the criminal case, the charge of falsification of accounts was brought against them. So they did not loot the money. They did not give the money to anybody. They just made entries that were meant to give Bank of Ghana, the central bank, the impression that the bank was doing well.
So that's Dr. Dominic Ayine. He is the Attorney General and Minister for Justice. Now, this week, as he's been doing in the past few months gone by, he sought to explain why he filed a nolle prosequi discontinuing the case of the state or the Republic versus Dr. Kwabena Duffuor and the 7 others. Quite a departure from the norm that the Attorney General is not really obliged to explain or give reasons for filing a nolle prosequi. He says in the spirit of transparency. But the minority in Parliament strongly criticized the Attorney General's decision to enter the nolle prosequi in this case of the Republic versus Dr. Kwabena Duffuor and the 7 others, describing the move as a serious affront to accountability and the rule of law. So there are 2 principles at play here. The Attorney General's quest to be transparent, that is transparency, and the demand for accountability. This press briefing, which I just played some snippets of it for you, that was on Monday. Right after that, the ranking on the Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee of Parliament, Kwame Anyimedu Entry, also raised concerns about the legal justification and the implications of the said decision. There are those as well who have indeed gotten into how this case started entirely and why this must be of concern to many who are also looking at especially the entire banking sector cleanup and the specific instances involving UniBank. This morning we would have a conversation of whether this sets a precedent or the Attorney General was left with no other choice than to do this. We would have a conversation here on Key Point. He says that after assessing the facts before him, if the state had pursued this case even much longer, just like the case of the Bidge, we could have probably not had anything in pursuing this case. We'll get into it here on Key Point. Also, this morning, we'll go to the troubled Bawku region. The government has announced a shift in strategy from addressing the long-standing Bawku chieftaincy conflict, moving from peacekeeping posture to active peace enforcement, following this recent surge in the violence in the area. Well, this week we saw over 400 military personnel deployed to complement the military presence already on ground. What does the shift in this policy or the outlook of the military mean? From peacekeeping to peace enforcement. The presidency stated that the escalation of the conflict threatens to derail the progress made in previous peace-building efforts and necessitates stronger intervention to protect lives and property. We'll have a conversation this morning here on Key Point and what the Ghana Armed Forces is doing and have been deployed to Bawku and other affected areas to enforce curfews. We've seen the Office of the Special Prosecutor at work this week as well. We'll have a conversation this morning on the OSP and matters arising. Right after this quick break, we'll get into the poll tracker, the fight for credit, who should be giving credit for instance, the reduction in our debt stock, the reduction in our inflation rate, and the appreciation of the currency continues. But the most important thing for you and I is how this can be sustained over the period. We're tracking the conversation of what was the case and what is now, and what measures have been put in place to achieve the improved economic indicators we are experiencing now. That's poll tracker after this quick break. We're live on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook. We're also live on the Voice of London radio in the heart of the city of London. This is the key point. We're back shortly after this quick break. My guests taking their seats already. My name is Alfred Ocansey. Welcome.
Reporting from the Takoradi Market Circle.
From the heart of the Upper West Regional Capital.
From the heart of the Ashanti Kingdom.
Reporting from Sunyani.
From the Central Business District of Navrongo.
The parliamentarians are on recess.
This is where it all unfolds. The moments that potentially alters the course of our nation and the world. These are the individuals we recognize, the voices we amplify, who appears on screen and who contributes behind the scenes. With professionalism at our core, we bring you news you can trust, impact journalism that makes a difference. This illustrates how diverse perspectives enhance our strength and reinforces our mission. This is 3 News, leaders in breaking news, exclusive interviews, facts and analysis on TV, radio, online and digital. 3 News, first in news.
Welcome back. This is Key Point on TV3. We're live on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and on DSTV channel 279. We're all across the world on 3news.com. We're getting into the poll tracker now, and this is a segment that we introduced here on Key Point over the last few weeks. We're tracking your sentiments, also the conversation that has been about matters bordering on policy, politics, the economics, and issues that are of concern to you, the Ghanaian people. And on Poll Tracker, this is a data-driven conversation that captures with the most verifiable data the concerns and the views of you, the Ghanaian people, because in the end, when we talk about the state of the economy, it is not so much about what policymakers or the politician says, it's a lot more about how you feel. This week, this fight for credit as to who should take credit for where we are now in terms of the macroeconomic indicators and then the general economic well-being that this economy is going through continues. The minority this week addressed a press conference to respond to the mid-year budget review, specifically about a number of issues: the debt, the public debt stock that has reduced, the cedi that is appreciating in value, and then also inflation that we've seen go down consistently over the period. This is what Dr. Kasiel Atufosin, the finance minister, said specifically about the public debt. Take a look.
Take you to public debt development. Public debt development. Right, Honorable Speaker, our commitment to fiscal discipline, through prudent debt management and exchange rate appreciation has resulted in a significant improvement in Ghana's debt profile. Public debt reduced from 726.7 billion as at end December 2024 to 613 billion as at end June 2025. Mr. Speaker, Ghana's public debt reduced by 113.7 billion Ghana cedis in 6 months. Mr. Speaker, for the first time in Ghana's history, there is a negative 15.6% rate of debt accumulation. Right, Honorable Speaker, Ghana's public debt to GDP ratio as at end June 2025 was 43.8% from the 61.8% of end December 2024. Mr. Speaker, Ghana's public debt as a percentage of GDP reduced by 18% of GDP in the last 6 months.
That is the finance minister, Dr. Kasiel Atufosin. The minority says, well, yes, this is the case, but it is not so much about the policies that you, as finance minister, has implemented over the period between January and June. The overview that you presented to the people through Parliament. So this is the minority's position. Take a look.
Review. The government praised itself for a number of unearned achievements. The minister stated, for example, that Ghana's public debt to GDP ratio as at the end of June 2025 was 43.8%. He compared that with the 61.8% at the end of December 2024, and thereby stating that the public debt as a percentage of GDP reduced by 18% in just 6 months. The minister said that. He also said that Ghana's foreign debt as a percentage of total public debt declined from 57.4% at the end of 2024 to 49% in 6 months. That this has significantly improved Ghana's debt sustainability and that our debt to GDP ratio is at a 5-year low. The question we ask the minister is, how much of Ghana's public debt has the government repaid since they assumed office? How much? Zero. They haven't repaid any of Ghana's debts. And so, if the debt to GDP ratio has reduced, how is the minister able to claim that they have done magic? Yet they have not repaid any of Ghana's debts. It is no secret to any of you in the media the painstaking efforts the MPP government made to restructure our debt, particularly with our external commercial creditors. That led to outright debt cancellation of $5 billion and a debt service savings of $4.7 billion. So when we talk about reduction in the debt stock, which then will reduce our debt to GDP ratio, this is what we are talking about. But apart from this, what else has the new government done in terms of reducing our debt stock?
Well, that's his predecessor there. That's Dr. Mohammed Amin Adam, also addressing the press this week. But then again, he says, what has this administration done? What exactly have they done to reduce the public debt in any way that the finance minister talks about? And this is it. This is what we have been tracking over the period. It is indeed the case, and let's put it on the screen, that when it comes to the public debt stock, in terms of debt to GDP, it is indeed the case that it has reduced from the 61.8% debt to GDP in December 2024 to, as of end of June 2025, 43.8%. That is factual. That is not being contested. The point is about who should take credit for this. And this is where we take you to what exactly the tracker has been observing over the period. Our debt stock reduced this much, over 16% basis point over the period. That's huge within this period of 6 months. And the finance minister points to one of the components that led to this. That is the appreciation of the cedi. The cedi's appreciation against the dollar. This. You know why? Because in January, when this administration took over, and this we are looking at the forex rate, not the interbank, because that was another issue as well that the minority raised, that they've had 17 cedis as of January. Some have talked about 16 cedis, 15 cedis, 30 pesos. This is what some of the exchange in terms of the forex bureaus were quoting as of end of January 2025. We're talking about 10 cedis, 30 pesos now at the interbank. Now, if you look at how this impacts on the debt stock that we are talking about, and there's a reason. Because part of our public debt is held in dollars. That's our external debt component. So when the cedi appreciates in value, or when the cedi is doing well against the dollar, as we've seen, it would directly impact on our external public debt held in dollar terms. And we've seen as a result of this appreciation of the cedi, our external debt stock has reduced by 150 billion cedis. 150 billion cedis. That is not also being contested. Now, between January and June, that this cedi has appreciated this much. Who then should be taking the credit for this? Joe Jackson is a financial analyst. He's been looking at what I have put here and what the financials says. He's joining us in the studio as the CEO of Daylex Finance. Mr. Jackson, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. It's good to be here.
Look at this. And the public debt stock and the fight about who should take credit for the reduction that we have seen in the public debt stock. The minority says, look, within this period, this administration cannot take credit for this appreciable reduction in the public debt stock as we have seen, much as a result of the appreciation of the cedi. What's your verdict?
Martin is not here. Who takes credit for the appreciation of the cedi? I don't think we can dispute the fact that the appreciation of the cedi has had a significant effect on our debt stock. But who should take credit for the appreciation of the cedi? Who? It has to be the government. It has to be the current managers of the economy. Simply because, yes, we could argue that the stars have aligned and that the external factors have played a role. But there is definitely a role to discipline. the discipline that has been applied in the management of our finances, the discipline that has been applied to keep our reserves at the level at which they have been to support the cedi. Remember that the cedi's appreciation cannot be treated as if it was honey that dropped down from heaven and dropped into our mouths. That's not what happened. Some actions took place, some external activity, external environment also happened to favor that. We have to agree on that and say whoever takes credit for the cedi, appreciation of the cedi, should also take credit for the. It's like telling me that inflation has dropped because the cedi has appreciated, and then say, in that case, the inflation is there in a vacuum. The drop in inflation is just because the cedi has appreciated. Somebody caused the cedi to appreciate. Some events cause the cedi to appreciate. Somebody's discipline and committed action happened. And we have to give the person credit.
And you see,
because the day things go bad, that same person will be laid up on the table and given.
In terms of nominal values, in December 2024, the public debt stock was 726.7 billion.
Yes.
That is what was handed over to this administration. As of the end of June 2025, it has reduced to 613 billion, thereabout. 113.7 billion cedis reduction.
An interesting thing to do will be look at the dollar value of our debt stock, as as at the beginning of January, and the dollar value of our debt stock as at the end of July. And you see that there's actually been a slight increment, right? But hey, cedis matter. Our currency is the cedi. Our debt stock is our debt stock. And the fact that overall it has come down, somebody has to take credit. And it didn't come down in a vacuum. It came down because there was a appreciation of the cedi, and someone and some actions caused the cedi to appreciate.
Oh, listen to the minority on the cedi appreciation during that press conference this week. This is what they had to say. And it's just now come to you, and to you as well, Dr. Zato. Take a look at this.
The minister indicated that, and we all heard it. He said, cedi no apiki. That's what he said, isn't it? The developments in the foreign exchange market under this administration are deeply troubling. We are witnessing persistent arbitrage between the interbank market and the Forex Bureau, alongside a growing scarcity of foreign exchange. Perhaps the minister should know that, yes, cedi no apiki, but Abochi get the dollar, as my brother Honorable Adongo once said. And the arbitrage we are seeing is quite wide. Whilst the minister is talking about interbank rate of 10 cedis to $1, the Abochi is selling it at over 13 cedis to $1. And on top of that, the banks don't have Forex to give to their clients. We have heard many people complaining about how long it takes, the documents they have to present, to be sent to the Bank of Ghana for clearance before they get Forex from their own accounts, their own Forex accounts. They cannot get transfers that they have to make to people they buy goods from abroad. They are not able to do that. They are incurring losses as a result of that. Ladies and gentlemen, the shortage of dollars in the bank has been so pronounced that importers have gone public to express their frustration about the situation. It is evident that the Bank of Ghana has been intervening significantly in the Forex market through auctions, bilateral sales, and using other tools, despite the Bank of Ghana governor denying such intervention were happening.
So that's the former finance minister, Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam. This is what Dr. Kesila Tuforsen said as well about the cedi appreciation. Take a look.
I'm happy to inform the House that our previous record, where the Ghana cedi used to trade against the US dollar at 17. It's as at yesterday, trading at 10.4. Mr. Speaker, similarly, the Ghana cedi, which was once trading at 21 cedis to the British pound, was trading at 14.1 as at yesterday, 23rd July 2025. Mr. Speaker, as at end June 2025, the cedi appreciated by 42.6% against the US dollar, 30.3% against the British pound, and 25.6% against the euro. This is a significant improvement over the cedi depreciation of 18.6%, 17.9%, and 16.0% against the US dollar, British pound, and the euro. Mr. Speaker, I repeat, so far, we have almost reversed all the cedi depreciation in 2022, 2023, and 2024. This level of appreciation has never happened in the history of our country. Mr. Speaker, Right Honorable Speaker, fellow citizens, Ghana cedi no apeke.
So that's the finance minister. Then your verdict is that there's some specific policies that were put in place that has achieved this appreciation of the city. That cannot be contested in any way.
It cannot be contested. The external environment helped, but the external environment is the external environment. And one of the things that we should also watch out for, that even if you take the West African region, right, some countries in the West African region actually suffered a depreciation in their currency. Nigeria, some got an appreciation, but nowhere near what we got. So obviously, there were certain unique circumstances about Ghana and certain policy actions and discipline that got us to where we are now. And you cannot argue with that.
Right.
The cedi, the differential between the official rate and the forex rate has widened to the point where you want to watch it and say, do we have enough liquidity available at the banks? Because you see, nobody goes to the forex by choice. It's if you can't get it from your bank. And so that widening gap we should look at. But even with the widening gap, it still shows a significant appreciation that you cannot dispute.
I see. And the widening gap is what you talk about, because you hear that concern raised as well about the availability of the dollar. That he refers to Abochi, that Abochi has it. But then again, the banks also, some businesses will go to the banks and say they can't get dollars. What should the regulator be seen to be doing now to address this particular concern? Because it's been rife over the week.
It's very simple. If the dollar is available in the banks, who would go to the forex? That would be irrational. Why would I buy at a higher rate when I can get a lower rate? If we're not getting it at the bank and that differential is there, it just means that provide more dollars so that the bank rate will be available at the same time low enough, or allow the bank rate to appreciate a little to bridge the gap. It's as straightforward as that.
And Dr. Joshua Zato is a political analyst, lecturer at the University of Ghana Political Science Department, also at some point sought to be in Parliament on the ticket of the MPP, but it's good to have you. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you.
You had indicated that at this point, when we're looking at the appreciation of this currency and its impact on the public debt, there is no formula for measuring who should take credit. But then again, the evidence speaks for itself, is it not?
Good morning and thank you for this opportunity. Before, can I do the regular?
We'll come to that.
We'll come to that?
Yes.
We'll come to it. Okay. Oh, yes, no. I will give the NDC the credit for this. I will give the NDC the credit for the cedi game. I will not doubt that. I will not dispute that. It has happened to them. Sometimes what politicians like most is luck. Politicians are sometimes like a general going to the field. You can do all the preparation, you can do all the deliberations, sometimes you want luck. whether it is luck or not, whatever it is, the appreciation is happening under the watch of the NDC. So they'll take the credit. I will not dispute that. But there are certain things that we can say they are genuinely worth looking at.
Right.
And some critical things that we have to talk about. And when we begin to do that, then we then have to tell ourselves that the national budget and whatever you are doing should be factual. Because, again, we've been told that Parliament is a house of records. You've been told that whatever they must factor, so it says. The finance minister made certain declarations in that budget. One of them in particular was that 2025 is the only year that Ghana has seen a negative rate of debt accumulation. That was what he said. And Ghana Fact Check has actually looked at that and said that was false, that he was wrong. Now, I'm surprised why a finance minister will deliberately go and do that. The finance minister also said that he doesn't need new taxes. But there are some studies that have shown that about 10 or 8 new taxes or levies, other things have been introduced or have been approved or have been allowed to continue to go on.
In this,
and then finally,
budget?
yes. And then finally, there's something that I was looking at. And then I'm saying that every finance minister that comes into this year, since I have been started looking at it, runs a very good first year. They all do. They're able to get their books in order. They're able to do well the first year. In fact, sometimes they even run a very good second year. They're able to do that. The problems begin, or the real test of a finance minister begins in the third and fourth years, when campaigns are beginning, when things are starting. Can a finance minister defy his own president or his own government in those years to still keep the discipline that Joe Jackson was talking about? Can a finance minister do that? Can a finance minister refuse to spend or refuse to spend a lot of money on projects even though he knows that it's not good, and when his president or his vice president or party chairman says no? And I think that is the real test, because again, you can do a historical analysis and you realize that every new finance minister enjoys this first week.
Well, because you referenced a particular study that says 8 to 10 new taxes or levies have been introduced in this mid-year budget. I want to know, which 8 to 10 levies and taxes are you talking about?
Well, I've been the 8% of petroleum products is a tax.
8% petroleum?
There's an average. The D levy is a tax, right?
No, but that's not 8%.
It's up to 8 to 9%. It's an average of 8. If you look at all the whole taxes given, or the increase, eventually what consumers have, how much are consumers paid? Okay, I agree. 1% increase in taxes. I agree with that. There's supposed to be up to 30 to 40% increase in all government services. That is another one. There is a 21.9 VAT on non-life insurance premium. So these are just some of them. I can continue the list, but these are some of them. Okay. There is supposed to be an increase in special import levy from 1 to 2% on. Again, there is supposed to be increase in marine oil gas. So these are some taxes. So all those are there, and we're told by the finance that he will not impose taxes, but these are taxes that have come in. I'm saying that the point I'm making is that, again, let me go back. There are certain things that we're told. These are taxes, they've come in. We're told that, again, as I saying, that you said this was the only year, but the evidence proved that it is not, it has 700 years.
But so, you see, there was some intent. You see, sometimes when the finance minister is reading the budget, he gives reasons for specific policies. The marine gas levy that you talk about was to check smuggling, because prior to this moment, there was some subsidies on marine gas, of which I'm sure you're aware.
Yes.
Okay, and as a result of those subsidies, that encouraged some smuggling, which led to, in fact, government losing revenue. And to check the smuggling, they introduced this. So the intent behind the levy also is very important in analyzing the exact impact and context of the levy.
I agree with you. No finance minister introduced a tax because he's bored. No finance minister introduced a tax because he has money to do. No. Look, every single finance minister can justify why he or she introduced a tax. Secondly, a tax is a policy tool. Policy tools can be used: 1, encourage consumption of a good; 2, discourage consumption of a good; 3, raise taxes, raise revenue. Either way, you can find, and I say you can go on with some of the taxes I've talked about: introduction of the road living, extension of the.
You mean the road toll?
Okay, what I'm saying is this. Taxes, a tax is a policy tool. can be used or misused to do anything. And this government, or I'm talking about, I can raise, I've mentioned some of them. It has happened. And every finance minister can justify why he or she introduced a tax.
Okay. Mr. Jackson, you see, the road toll is not new because it was in the main budget.
Exactly.
The minister just rehashed it, indicating that it was going to take effect. That's also just to put it on record.
Yes, I'm saying, and also to put it on record that a number of taxes have been introduced so far. Up to, I've just mentioned about 6 or 5, but there are more.
Mr. Jackson, there's a one on this one. A particular one as well. You've looked at the full details of the budget.
I'm not sure I've seen 8 definitive taxes there. I don't think so. There are definitely, the D-levy is a significant one because it cuts across. There were also some mentions which were rehashes of other taxes that were
mentioned in the main budget. The D-levy was a significant one. Beyond that, let's also flip it. There was also talk about simplifying and VAT. So there is some balance there, and we shouldn't look at this in a one-sided way. And in any case, there's also the issue that if every finance minister has a good first year and a decent second year, that's fine. We can't start lambasting and saying that it's only the first year. We have to just wait and watch. Okay.
That's what we just have to wait and watch and say, let's wait, let's see. I agree with you that typically your first year, your second year are good. That's fine. But let's not jump the bridge before we get to it. Let's wait. And let's give him credit for where credit is due. Listen, the appreciation of the cedi is significant. The reduction in debt service due to the reduction in T-bill rates is significant. The discipline shown is significant. I would say, go ahead. We encourage you. We support you. Let's keep at this, rather than say it's only the first year. But in any case, it's politics. The opposition is not here to join in the praise singing. The opposition is here to be the opposition. So I don't even begrudge them that.
Dr. Richard Amakoba is here. He is a political analyst as well as a lecturer. It's good to have you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
The economy is not so much about what the manager says, it's about how you feel, is it not? What's your verdict?
Well, we are just talking on the side of the main issue. Who did it? Who did it? The point is the cedi has come up. How did it come up? I would say it's the watchman. The watchman did it, yes. If they want to say nobody did anything, I'll attribute to the watchman. Would that make people happy? No. If you are an opposition, your job is to oppose. It doesn't mean you should oppose everything, even if it's obvious, right? If the watchman did it and it's up, give it to the watchman. So what? It's still up. That's all. And so if I were to advise the opposition, I'll tell them, don't say it. Just let them have it. Don't say anything. Because it has happened under their watch. They should take credit for it. Whom do you want to take credit for it? Nobody. But the thing has happened. And so that's how you have to look at it. And so when we keep at it like this way, we are wasting time. What we have to do is to help the government to be disciplined, even more disciplined, so that going forward, they keep doing the same things they've been doing. That's it, and more.
Austin Bracco Powers is a private legal practitioner joining us as well. What's your verdict on this? Quick one.
Alfred, for me, I think there are several factors that need to be considered. And one of it has to do with the fact that this government came in at a time when the city was in a bad shape. And you would realize that in economics, sometimes the economy itself, acknowledge, sometimes the economy would appreciate or will even shake based on election outcome.
Yes.
Or what the economists will say, the market will respond to the election results, changing government. So usually the investors and other people will also react. They feel now they have the opportunity to invest in this country because of a new government.
Yes.
So I think in discussing the shape of our economy today, we don't need to gloss over the contribution of the past government.
Okay.
We don't need to, because when we do that, then what it means is that we are not being honest in our discussion. So I think, fair enough, the NDC is not superintending over the economy. We appreciate whatever they are doing, their sacrifices. We appreciate that. But we cannot discuss those who should be given credit for the strength or for the goodies that we are enjoying today without giving credit to the previous government. And I think we need to do that. That is how we tend to create or nurture a society that is able to appreciate situations dispassionately. So for me, we are enjoying this not because of the NDC alone, because of foundation laid by the previous government. And we must give credit to them as is expected.
One person who has been, yes, Ms. Jackson, before I bring in our next guest, quickly.
You know, I hear you and I appreciate what you're saying. But when you take me from 6 CDs to $1 to the height of 15, right? And then somebody brings me down to even 11 or 10. How can you say I should give you credit? Where did we start from? Where did we end up? And so it becomes really tough. If there's any credit, we should give it to the last year or so under Honorable Aminu.
Mohammed Amin Adam?
Amin Adam, who did some work to bring down the city. But hey, when you in 2023, we were at 6. I'm not even talking about what the regime, the previous regime, started off with. In 2022, we were at 6. So you take me from 6 to 15. Or whatever rate you choose to apply. And then you say you brought it down a bit, so I should give you credit. I would say there's an account proverb. Konfubona watina yarefuhu ma konfupa abatun wuyinimo. To wait, the bad witch doctor who sat by the sick patient, and so that the good doctor could come and take over, don't discard him. But that good witch doctor the bad witch doctor has to be Honorable Adam. Because when you guys took over under one, when the NPP took over under one finance minister, 2022 to 22, where did we start from? 6. So we went as high as 17 at one point, and then came down again. The coming down was under somebody's watch. I gave that person credit.
That's the credit.
Yes, but you started me off at 6. You started me off at 6. You devastated. I'm over 60, right? Do you know what it did to my savings?
You mean the depreciation of the CD?
Yes.
And the DDEP?
All of them. Do you know what it did? DDEP and the dollar depreciation. Think about it. If in 2022 I had 60,000 CDs, right, as my savings, I had $10,000 equivalent. I could do something with it. But in 2024 ending, that was worth barely $4,000. So something went wrong. And I'll give you some amount of credit, but let's not stretch this credit business too far.
Okay. Now, let me, you see, one person who is neck deep in experiencing what the real impact of what we're talking about is on a day-to-day basis is at the Shippers Authority. Because apart from this CD appreciation we're talking about, we're looking at as well the inflation reduction. In fact, inflation peaked at January 2025. We saw it drop down from over 50 at some point to what this administration inherited, 23.5 as at the end of December. January, this was 23.5. Now we're talking about 13.7. Stock reduction we've seen of about 9.8% in terms of the inflation rate. And that impacts on investment as well, because you invest to hedge against inflation and what we've seen over the period. Professor Ransford Jampo is the CEO of the Ghana Shippers Authority. And over the last at least 1 month, he has been at the forefront fighting for the shipping lines to also acknowledge the concerns of businesses, freight forwarders, and others who do business at the ports and with the shipping lines to, one, have this appreciation of the city reflect in their charges, and then also the cost of doing business there. Prof, good morning. Welcome.
Morning. Are you not going to allow me to do my regular
It has
greetings?
to be in tandem with this.
In tandem?
This is something you've been on for quite a while.
Yeah, we'll do it, but you have to allow me to greet my shippers.
The shippers.
Will you do to indulge me?
That shouldn't be long.
It will not be long. Just to say that kind regards and greetings to the shippers that we are working with. You know, beyond what we did to get the Bank of Ghana to issue the directive that that was aimed at checking the arbitrariness in the usage of the exchange rates by some shipping lines, we've set up also some monitoring task force to go around to monitor compliance, so that it will not be that some directive has been given and some people are doing whatever pleases them. And so just to alert the shippers that we are doing this to monitor compliance. It is part of President Mahama's vision to bring down the cost of doing business. And so we are doing all we can to ensure that the cost of doing business is brought down. At the moment, our Act, the Ghana Shippers Authority Act, mandates us to receive charges from service providers at the port, including shipping lines, and to approve or to disapprove of them. So last week I wrote a couple of letters demanding that they bring their charges for us to review. Some have responded, and we are going to look at the justifications that they have provided. Taxes and levies that are, levies and charges that are not justifiable, we'll scrap them, we'll disallow them. Those that are unreasonably high, we'll negotiate that they be brought down. And then another important cost, another important factor that fits into the cost of doing business is the unnecessary delays that take place at the ports. If you want to clear your goods, some will take 5 days, some 7 days. Yesterday, I convened a meeting to look at this, and some are taking as long as 53 days to clear goods. And all these things would, yes, it would attract unnecessary demurrage. And the demurrage, what is annoying about that is that the demurrage does not come to the country. It goes to other people's, country. And so we are doing all we can, and like I said yesterday, I convened a meeting to look at this. The idea is to be able to work with stakeholders to reduce the number of days that it takes for goods to be cleared, so that unnecessary demurrage would not be attracted. So it's been good so far. Special thanks to some of my new friends I've found in the industry: Asaki Aringobit, Ajokatse, the Guta president and his vice president, Johnny Manti, and co. And then also special thanks to the chief of staff and his two deputies, Standogbe and Nana Oye, Bamfo Ado, for the wonderful orientation program they convened for CEOs. I attended, over this week. It was very insightful, aimed at preparing us to be able to do all we can, do our best to help President Mahama to deliver on what he's told Ghanaians he's going to do. And I want to say thank you to them. But what was the question? Now bring it.
No, because whatever you have said now is in direct reflection, in fact, part of it.
Part of it. Let me quickly say that. You see, let me quickly say that. You see, I think we should know that to every coin there are two sides. The politics of gaslighting and the politics of propaganda. We should know that we can do this in fledgling democracies. But as time goes on, democracy grows. And then as time goes on, the people who are the target of gaslighting and propaganda also grow. Recall that at one point in time when we were saying that things were very bad, those in power were saying things were very good. And it was a certain tug of war. But in the elections, the discerning Ghanaian gave a mandate, gave a certain voting pattern that corroborated what we were saying, that things were very bad. Okay, now that things are also good, or things are improving, we are told that nothing is being done. It is not reflective of anything. And it's not, well, I leave it to Ghanaians. You see, because at the end of the day, it is not about propaganda. It's not about gaslighting. It is about what the ordinary Ghanaian feel. And there is one thing that is important that we must put out there. That you see, I ask myself, if things improve, who benefits? Is it MPP? Is it NDC? Is it Ghanaians? Who benefits if things improve? We all stand to gain. And so my view is that rather than sounding cynical, rather than being pessimistic, I think the best thing to do as a people who stand to gain, all of us, from the improvement and from the development and from the way things are going, the best thing to do would be for us to pat those who are doing it on the shoulder and to encourage them that continue. Because when they're against, we all stand to gain. Okay, see, I went to Arthur Forson and I asked, Arthur, how are you doing this? And he said, Prof, I am disciplined, I am not greedy, and I have the support of the president. So these are the three things. And do you know what it means for the president to pat you on your shoulder to say that you are doing well, keep it up? I went to the president too. And he said, Ransford, I know you will deliver. So keep on. And do you know what that means for me? It means that you cannot fail. You should continue. So my view is that rather than sounding pessimistic, let us rather encourage so that things are done in a manner that will translate into tangible developmental outcomes reflected in the lives of all of us. So that tomorrow, those who are also seeking to govern the country after the end of this regime, you'd also have things improved such that when you are placed there, you wouldn't be struggling. You have little to do to keep up the hope of the people of Ghana. So basically, I think that if it is good, it must be commended. If it is bad, we must talk about it. But so far, I think this government has done extremely well in restoring hope in the good people of Ghana and the kinds of things that are being done. The last time I was saying, I needed to pay some $500 to secure an accommodation somewhere because I was traveling. And they took close to 10,000 cedis from my money. About 2-3 months ago, I needed to pay same $500, and it had come to around 6,000 Ghana cedis. And I could feel the palpable impact of what is being done. So my view is that rather than success has a lot of fathers, failure has only one father. So it's okay if people say that commend the MPP for what they do, but you see, this is not something that must be demanded. It is something that must be spoken about after sober introspection. Okay, because we know how things were during the last administration, and we know how things are going. Okay, but if people are still demanding that, we leave it to the good conscience of the people of Ghana, because at the end of the day, governance is supposed to affect their daily lives. It is not about who takes the praise or who takes the blame. It's about the ordinary people of Ghana. And we have been interacting with them. I've been interacting beyond what I do. I try my best to also interact, go down. I do so many things that other people who feel bossy won't do. But I go to the ordinary people to talk to them.
Okay.
And you listen to the sentiments and you listen to some of the things that are being said. My advice to all is that there is an extent to which you can gaslight. There is an extent to which you can do propaganda. But the good people of Ghana, who are the ultimate repository of the fiduciary trust that governments seek to, duty bearers seek to exercise, they are now wise and they are now discerning. Okay. So if things are good, they know. It doesn't lie in our mouths to say that things are bad or things are good. Governance, good governance is explained in terms of efficient and effective management of scarce resources such that it translates into tangible developmental outcomes reflective in the lives of the people.
Thank you.
Such that it is the people who talk about it. It's not those of us who may be doing analysis, who may be saying that it is good or it is bad. Go into the lives of the people and ask them what is really happening. I think for me that's the crux of the matter.
Well, thank you, Professor Ranso Jampo. And Dr. Zato, a couple of minutes on the initial comment you wanted to make.
Okay.
Just
Thank
so you know, I haven't forgotten.
Thank you. I want to start that issue by reading something that is alleged to have been written by Osajefo Oliver Bakavoma. He says, being arrested and getting bail now is like going to the fetish place. Bring 1 lizard testicle, 2 mosquito eggs, and 4 mampam eyelashes. I don't know what is mampam. I don't know what that is.
What's that driving at?
Monitor the big monitor.
Today, this week, I was scandalized to realize that one of the coercive arms of governments has weaponized a bail system to punish a journalist because that journalist has said things that are mean to him. This week, or less a few days ago, the Office of the Special Prosecutor took Paul Adom Achre, invited him. As at this morning, you said
it's part of our.
I know, but I'm saying in a way I'll come back.
Saying,
yes, I know. I will still have a lot to say about this. Don't worry. And put him there. His lawyer, I read his lawyer has said that Paul Adom Achre has not yet been charged with any crime. But Paul Adom Achre was told to bring the property for his bail that I don't think any one of us sitting here can meet those things. I have listened to anybody so far. I'm yet to hear anybody justify that that was a good use of the coercive powers of the state. Paul has a unique voice, and Paul has used his platform to contribute to the deepening of our democracy and to deepen our journalism in this country. To weaponize bail system in an attempt to silence him, to weaponize bail system in an attempt to cow him into docility, to weaponize the bail system in an attempt to punish somebody because you don't believe in him, is just impunity, it's just wicked, and it's vindictive. We have come far as a country, we must go beyond that. What Paul has gone through is an indictment on this democracy. What Paul has gone through is an indictment on journalism in this country, and what Paul has gone through should not be allowed to stand, because you cannot do that to people and just think that because you have power you can do it. It's not fair, it's not nice, and we shouldn't do that.
Okay. Well, is that it?
There's a little comment I want to make. Just a little comment.
Now, can I go over my main?
No. You said the initials this you want to say.
I've said it.
I was indicating that was going to be a conversation.
Okay, well, when I can still talk more.
No, the head of research and communications, this statement that you have just made is one of the issues that he will be responding to as we go on.
It's so that's wicked.
You have just stated your point.
When you come there, I'll still talk more.
So that's actually granted.
Okay,
yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Jackson, I need to move on to the next issue very quickly.
Okay, I'm just wondering that was Paul invited as a journalist?
If you're going to have...
Or he was invited as a... as in his role as at the Ghana airport, Yes, that's all. As a board chair, or he was invited as a journalist, as a board chair. So that's the only question.
Nevertheless, thank you very much, gentlemen. So we will speak to this as we go on. Now, the next issue this morning, and the touching on the economy and matters arising as well. Thank you. And for giving your details as well as your reactions on the poll tracker. It's one that we're going to do every Saturday here on Key Point. And the poll tracker will track the issues of concern to you, the people, and also reference the most verifiable data that we can all relate to. This week, the Attorney General has been on a path of giving reasons and explaining why he signs and then also decides to file a nolle prosequi in cases since he assumed office, even though the law does not require him to explain and give reasons for filing a discontinuation or taking a decision to discontinue a particular case between the Republic and any other party. Dr. Dominic Ayine says he wants to take a different path and also bring in some level of transparency. This week he addressed the press on the Dr. Kwabena Duffuor and 7 others, the Republic versus Dr. Kwabena Duffuor and 7 others, and why he decided, on behalf of the Republic, to file a nolle prosequi. This is Dr. Dominic Ayine at the Accountability Series this week on Monday. Take a look.
Of 5.7 billion down to 3.3 billion, which comprise the following: the exclusion of 2.1 billion in the alleged fictitious amounts booked to the account of the shareholder who did not involve cash outflows. In other words, monies didn't go out to anybody. These were just book entries that were designed to make the books of UniBank look good. That is how come that in the criminal case, the charge of falsification of accounts was brought against them. So they did not loot the money. They did not give the money to anybody. They just made entries that were meant to give Bank of Ghana, the central bank, the impression that the bank was doing well. Okay. Then the exclusion of 0.3 billion relating to UniBank's placement with a SEC-regulated, related company currently in receivership, which is being pursued separately through the insolvency proceedings. After prolonged negotiations, the accused persons, by a letter dated 7th May 2025, made a proposal to settle the revised outstanding obligation of 3.3 billion Ghana cedis through a structured approach. The accused persons offered to pay 2 billion Ghana cedis in full and final settlement of the outstanding obligations through the following arrangements: 800 million worth of assets to be transferred directly to UniBank, which is in receivership, which will now make that available to the Bank of Ghana. And then their active cooperation and participation to assist the receiver to recover an additional 1.2 billion from the direct beneficiaries paid out on their instructions. Out of the above arrangements, the accused persons have provided landed properties valued at 824 million Ghana cedis to UniBank. That is, in receivership. Further, in other words, indirectly to the Bank of Ghana or the Republic of Ghana. Further, the accused persons will be responsible for any shortfall in the proceeds realized from the sale of the landed properties. A total of 0.5 billion has to date been recovered out of the 1.2 billion being pursued from the direct beneficiaries. Recovery of the remaining balance of 0.7 billion out of the 1.2 billion Ghana cedis and the realization of the landed properties provided are expected to be completed over a timeline of 18 months. Although the preference would have been for me and my team for the accused person to settle the proposed amount in cash, immediate settlement in cash was not, from my sense of what transpired at the negotiations, a realistic possibility or a realistic option. In assessing the proposal submitted by the lawyers for the accused persons, I took into account the following factors. The receiver of UniBank acknowledged that the fictitious amounts totaling 2.1 billion did not result from cash outflows, but related to accounting entries that overstated the asset base of the bank, which predated UniBank's placement in official administration. B, a claim for the placement of 0.3 billion with the SEC-regulated entity was filed by the receiver with the official liquidator in 2019, and its recovery is being pursued separately through the insolvency process. 3, both the criminal and civil cases have persisted over 6 years with no immediate resolution in sight. The complex nature of the legal proceedings has significantly delayed any meaningful recovery. Now, come to think of it, those who instituted the criminal proceedings did not foresee the possibility down the line of recovering assets and never engage in any asset recovery process. They did not trace, to find out what assets were in the hands of third parties, including those who were in court. So while the criminal prosecution was intended to serve as a punitive and deterrent measure, it is through the civil process that actual recovery of funds is effectively pursued. The accused person's proposal fell within the receiver's mandate to maximize recoveries for UniBank in order to settle the bank's creditors, mainly Government of Ghana and some institutions.
That's Dr. Dominic Ayine. He is the Minister for Justice and the Attorney General of the Republic of Ghana. Now, the law doesn't require of him, essentially, to even be explaining to us or giving us reasons for filing nolle prosequi. In the spirit of transparency, he says this is what he wants to do. Is that doing him much good or opening him up for more scrutiny? I'll start off with you because you're a lawyer on this panel. I have Lawyer Martin People join us in a bit as well. This path that he is taking, in the interest of transparency, yes, he's ticking a number of boxes as well. But then, is that doing him any good or opening himself up for more scrutiny?
I think it's public accountability, and as you were said, we are witnessing a new Attorney General who is being open to the public, telling the public, these are my plans and these are the things I'm doing. There are a number of cases I inherited, and I've decided, looking into the facts and the evidence gathered so far, I feel I need to discontinue some of them. And you rightly put it, Section 54 of Act 30 gives the Attorney General the power to enter a nolle prosequi. And there's a string of judicial authorities or judicial cases where our courts have held that the AG need not explain the reason for filing the nolle prosequi or the reason for discontinuing any matter. But you see, we need to just understand something. I think Ghana is caught up in what I describe as the corruption and impunity trap. And there are two theories, Alfred. There are two theories that some researchers use when discussing issues of corruption. And the first is the principal agent theory. And the second is the collective action theory. Now, the principal agent theory highlights the relationship between individuals in the society. And it says that the agents, in this case, public officers, are assumed to work to protect the interests of the principal, which is the state or the public. But the reality has always been that the interest of the agent always takes precedence over that of the principal. And this creates what they call the agency problem. So to limit this problem, it has always been the policy of the principal to put in place measures, which include laws. So you can say our laws, or the laws we have, form part of the measures to control or limit the potential abuses of the the powers given to the agent. Now, the second one is the collective action theory. Now, this theory goes beyond the principal agent theory, and it considers trust. So, the collective action theory considers trust and the perceived behaviors of people in the society.
Right.
Now, this is what it means. People begin to rationalize their behavior based on what they perceive others to have done or would do given the same situation. Now, if as an Attorney General, you want to be entering knowledge procedure or be filing a knowledge procedure to discontinue certain cases and be entering into a contract with people, accused individual or accused persons, to pay a percentage of the principal sum. What are you trying to do? You are trying to encourage, you are trying to push forth the argument or the position that it is okay to dupe the state, to pillage the state, to steal from the public kitty. And when you are done, the state will offer you this opportunity. You will pay instead of the principal sum plus interest. The state will offer you. Now, Alfred, let me be clear that the Attorney General has every right. And you see, when you look at Section 35 of the Court Act 1993, at 459, it gives opportunity to any accused person to compensate the state for any harm, economic harm caused. So it is within the right of any accused persons to enter into such an agreement with the government. But it should always be a policy reason why you must always, instead of when you have the two options of deciding on whether to opt for the compensation or opt for punishment or sentence that will serve as a deterrent, I will always say that it must always be a public policy to punish, make sure that sentence is imposed on people, accused persons, to serve as a deterrent to others. Because people are watching us. If today it is now becoming maybe the new habit, the habits of this new, because let me put on record, this Attorney General has entered into more knowledge prosecutors than within less than 6 months than any administration that I've witnessed. When they were just sworn in, within the space of few weeks, he entered into a string of knowledge prosecutors just to discontinue cases against high-profile individuals in the NDC. But you see, after what I'm saying is that this trajectory is aiming to normalize corrupt practices.
He indicated that the approach and the focus now is to ensure recovery, but not also water down deterrence as well. So if you have seen the path that this Attorney General is taking, and that's in tandem with the administration's recovery of all loot. So that recovery process is what has informed a number of these. You hear him talk about deals or some agreements that he's entered into some persons in other cases that he's investigating to, apart from reaching that deal, also serve as prosecution witnesses as well. How about that?
Alfred, you see, the thing is that, like as I intimated earlier, if you have the two options of opting for one compensation and opting for sentence, I think it must always be in the interest of the society for the government to opt for the sentence. Why? So the question is, does Ghana need money? Obviously. But Ghana also need to, nurture corruptless people. What would be the need of having money if finally it will be supervised by people who have corrupt mentality? If you have money, if you have a whole room filled with money, yet the people who are supervising the money are not men and women of integrity, what would be the use? Now, you see, when you look at Article 37(1) of the Constitution, it gives the state the opportunity to secure a good social order. A good social order in tandem with probity and accountability. Social order. So when we talk about social order, we are talking about a set of institutions that help to maintain and enforce norms and laws. And it is always you see, we have, as citizens, we have duties. When you look at Article 41F, we have a duty as citizens to protect the public, to protect public property. So when people fail to protect public property, it should always be in the interest of the government to punish them, to serve as a strong signal to others who are watching. And one of the aims of punishment is deterrence, to deter others. But often than not, the behaviors of Ghanaians today reflect on our government, past and present. So if we are not scared of corruption, it is because of the behaviors of our government. Because the government, as our government, past and present, have been lethargic towards this corruption fight. And we are witnessing one. If you have an option of, ORA says, okay, I will recover everything. But you must always know that in recovering, the sanction must be punitive. You see, I'm not against recovering any money. Alfred, here's the thing. If you want to recover the money in the case of Dufour, BOG audit says 5.7 billion. The AG says it has been revised to 3.3 billion. So if you want to recover any money, and if you want it to be punitive enough, go for the 100% plus interest.
So you see, that brings me to the next issue about the amounts that have been mentioned in this particular case. It's evolved. And if you follow this case right from May 2018 till now, you've seen the evolution of this case, and that tells a story. And I'm going to go through it very briefly, because that also is important in understanding why we are where we are at this point. Because a number of conversations that you have had on this case has been about the outcome, the decision that the Attorney General has arrived at. But it started from a point. And the 5.7 billion you mentioned, is in fact, it started from 4.8 billion, if you recall. That was in May 2018. The first figure that the administrator that was appointed to oversee the entire process when this whole banking sector cleanup started, Amanododu, who was with KPMG. The first figure that was mentioned sometime in May, in fact, it was on the 31st of May, that report that KPMG put out was 4.9 billion. Then in June 2018, there was a revised figure of 5.7 billion. So that's how it evolved. Then later, if you look at the KPMG report, and let's flip to the next. This same administrator, Niamano Dodu, in that KPMG audit and the report on this entire UniBank matter, there's a portion of it that is quoted and attributed to him. That, quote, we have not sought to verify information or perform procedures necessary to express an audit opinion on any financial, non-financial information contained in the said report on UniBank. Then it goes on to say that accordingly, we are unable to determine the extent to which information provided to us are complete and accurate. And the report should be read in that context. So that 5.7 billion that you reference, this particular statement brings a certain angle to it that even the KPMG itself, at that point, were unable to determine the extent to which information provided to them were complete and accurate. And that's why you saw the figures changing. And the report should be read in that context. That's instructive. Then we go to the next. It's saying something as well. These were the causes for the UniBank collapse. And we're laying the foundation so people understand, maybe for the uninitiated who have not followed this case. Liquidity and solvency gap, unmet payment obligation, misuse of liquidity support. These were the identified causes of the UniBank collapse. If you look at the proposal of the shareholders of UniBank to resolve this matter, the 5.7 billion that you mentioned, this was their proposal to the central bank at the time. One, that they will, this was offered on June 5, that they would inject 1 billion Ghana cedis by mid-July 2018, and that they would inject another 1 billion before September end 2018, and then they will provide 3.7 billion cedis in assets. And at the time, the government of Ghana was also owing UniBank. And so the fourth proposal was that Bank of Ghana and government of Ghana settle your debts to us, and then we will be able to raise the 5.7 billion that this audit by KPMG has identified. And in fact, this story about government of Ghana owing a number of the banks that went down is synonymous to a number of them. GN Bank, for instance,
GN Bank, yes.
It had a number of contractors who had taken money from the bank, and so they said, look, these contractors took money to execute government of Ghana projects. So government pay us, and then we'll be able to meet it. That did not happen. But then it goes on to tell you, as of the end of December 2017, in terms of the assets of UniBank, that government of Ghana held 3.1 billion. This was how much government of Ghana owed UniBank. Let me break that down for you. It was the government of Ghana guaranteed loans of 457 million, public institution loans for 46 million, export guaranteed loans 114 million, government of Ghana mortgage loans 9.3 million, treasury bills 1.1 billion, ESLA bond 131 million, cash and short-term funds 233 million, and the unpaid guarantees that the government of Ghana had held in UniBank at the time, 1.3 billion. All of this tells you that at that point, there had to be a decision taken. The managers of the central bank who were managing the entire process decided to go in for the other one of closing down the bank, even with this detail. But as of March 26, 2024, just last year, the receiver went to court in this same Republic versus Kwabena 4 and 7 others. And this 5.7 billion was revised downwards to 2.8 billion. This was in court. And this is data and verifiable information with the court documents that is on this particular case. With this detail given, the Attorney General says, looking at what is before him, if he had even pursued the case, we may end up at the point where we may get very little or nothing than what he is pursuing. With the details I have just given to you, what picture does this tell you?
Alfred, and I want to maintain. You see, with this case, there are claims of accounting malpractices, padding up numbers. I don't know if you have heard of that. There are claims like that. In
fact, we'll get into that. Because the Attorney General himself acknowledges that.
Exactly.
Some 2.1 billion.
Yeah, so padding up numbers. And this one, you don't need anybody, a soothsayer to tell you that this is a palpable offense. You are padding up numbers to deceive a public officer, to deceive Bank of Ghana. That is an offense under our laws. And in this case, you don't need to pamper the person. Is it because
prosecutor?
No, just go for the long haul. And like we always say, go for the jugular. Why must you go for the jugular? Because people are listening. You are padding up numbers. There are other banks that are still in operation, and you change figures to deceive the Bank of Ghana just to look good in the eyes of the Bank of Ghana. That is no. We must discourage this kind of offense. So in a situation like this, Alfred, it should not be in the interest of the government to recoup or recover any money or to even go for compensation. Because, this is a major issue.
You should let the money go.
No, why would there are certain offenses you must not gloss over because of what you are because of what you may be doing to present and future generation. Yeah. People are in their various homes. People in primary school, those in secondary school, those in the tertiary, they are listening, they are watching, they are reading the news, they know what is happening, they watch the Attorney General. Padding up numbers, this is an offense. Why should you falsify data to deceive public official and you say, I'm going for the money? I'm saying that, Prof, there are situations where you opt for compensation, but there are instances where you must be puny, you must punish the person to send a strong signal to others who may be engaging in such practices. Mind you, or we may not even know that maybe behind us, there are other banks that are doing similar things. So when you send a strong signal,
it will jot them out of their midnight sleep. And this will help us to, nurture a society of conscience. That is what we want. I'm not against recovery, but I'm saying that putting up numbers and other things, sometimes you have to weigh the offense and the nature of the offense and say that in this case, we don't need a compensation. Let's go for the jugular. Let's punish the person, send a strong signal to others, just to reset the society. But you see, Alfred, with the part that this AG is taking, I shall have to say that he is resetting his office to promote corruption.
And why is that?
Because you are normalizing corrupt practices, encouraging compensation when at a point you need, because that's what I'm saying, that as a government is like a parent with the responsibility of modeling the behaviors of the children, in this case the citizen. So if you have two options, one to opt for compensation, another to punish, sometimes you must also always think about the future of your children and say that instead of going for compensation in this instance, let me go for the punishment, just to model the behaviors of my people for future.
Okay, now Justin, so the AG looked at this data that I just put out there, and he says that just like the beige bank case, if they pursue this to this point, based on the data and information available to him, would end up getting very little or nothing. So on that basis, exercises discretion and entered the nolle prosequa, and then also had this agreement with the shareholders to pay this said amount. Now, based on what I have just referenced to you, you say you're in agreement with the decision of the Attorney General. Why is that?
Let me start by just painting you a scenario. Mm-hmm. Our reality is that some 30 billion or thereabouts was spent on this banking cleanup. Now, at today's rates, not even at the rates then, of 15%, it means the cost of that debt we are carrying, right, is 4.5 billion per annum. 4.5 billion is more than what e-levy brought us in a year. Yes, it is. Yeah. So one of the things that we've got to look at carefully is that if from where I sit, right, I want to recover the money, the cost to this nation is on one side the moral hazard of saying if you do this, you can pay some money and get away with it. And I agree with you. That's one thing to be considered. But on the other side is the very real cost of how little we have recovered. And if you came to me and you owed me 30 million, you can't owe me 30 billion, I don't have that kind of money. As an institution.
Even Paul Admoche hasn't got you now.
I will have to sit down and ask myself, that I feel emotional about what you've done. I feel that you've done something very wrong. And yet the reality is that the debt is still there. The money has to be financed. And sometimes, painfully, I will take the money. The question then becomes, did the Attorney General get the best deal possible or not? That I can't sit here and answer.
I think that is the crux of the matter.
Did he get the best deal or not?
Crux of the matter.
There are some parts of it that are thoroughly worrying. As a regulated institution, making false entries to the central bank, that one is problematic. Is really problematic. And I assure you, if the central bank knew I had done something like that for my institution,
don't worry. He has friends in powerful places.
No, please don't go there. Please don't go there. But the more important thing is this: we're really between a rock and a hard place. Those who are baying for why are we not prosecuting him, I can understand that point of view. But as a finance person too, Charlie, the money is... And you see, the problem with jailing everybody is simply this. The day you say somebody should go to jail, right, his chiefs will march to Accra. His pastor will say, I stand by him. His foot soldiers will go and burn down some district assembly building. Forgive me. But listen, this is the reality of the situation. I'm saying, listen, I stand firmly with oral. But I'm saying, let's recover the loot. Let's recover the money. First and foremost, let's recover the money. Recovering the money is so important to where we sit now. Look at the amount of money you will need to finance just the cleanup operation. Listen, we have to recover the money. The monies are so, and listen, those monies will make a difference in the life of every single Ghanaian. What we should do is that after we have recovered the money, don't turn around and make these people models of behavior. That we've recovered the money from them, let them sit in their corner and be ashamed of what they did. We should apply, of course, don't give them an appointment. Don't let them go and sit in my church harvest. But you cannot, you see, part of the problem is that we as Ghanaians will turn around and make my church will turn around and go and bring somebody to come and be the chairman of the harvest, knowing what has happened. We'll turn around and make him chairman of the festival fundraising committee. And those are the things that worry us. As a society, are we rejecting corruption? As a society, and it's a real question. If we are, let's show it. Not just in high places, but show it at the bottom. But at the moment, where I sit, Attorney General, collect my money. That money is mine. As much as it is yours, and it is yours, and it's yours, it is our money. Let's collect it. Because the cost of financing that debt is horrendous.
The 3.3 billion, in fact, 30.3 billion.
Yes.
That is what the finance minister put to the cost of this.
It is horrendous. And it is a real debt. It's not imagined. It's not padding figures. Oh, it is money that has gone out. Money that went out and helped create some of the crisis that we have faced over the last 3 years. Money that went out that sent inflation to 54% and over. Money that went out that depreciated the cedi. So collect the money. Collect it because we need it.
You see, and Mr. Jackson, I say with you, I make reference to this and taking into consideration what Bawku Power says. In his view, he would have rather opted for prosecution than compensation. But then the Attorney General is looking at the details of this court document and saying that, look, this is how much the government of Ghana at the time owed the bank. And the receiver, as of last year, went to court and revised this 5.7 billion down to 2.8 billion as of March 2024. So based on the details,
the receiver in the previous regime.
Yes, the receiver in the previous regime that supervised the entire process of UniBank and then this whole receivership. The 5.7 billion down to 2.8 billion, and then also the details of the government of Ghana's debt to the bank that has been collapsed as well. Does that change the dynamics for you?
It does. It does. And you see, it does because it puts even the amount of money we spent on the cleanup. It puts us... listen, I firmly agree that the cleanup was necessary. Was the process we undertook, the actual mechanics of that process, was it right? now I have my doubts. But was the cleanup necessary? The financial sector was in a bad state. I mean, we've just heard the Attorney General admit that there was some padding and falsifying of entries to the tune of 2.1 billion. Do we need any more, and that has not been contested, do we need any more evidence that the financial sector was in a really bad state? No. But that said and done, right? I'm not a lawyer, so the courts of this, the arcane procedures of the courts of this land, sometimes they baffle me. And as a finance person, I tend to say, you give me my money, give me the cash, bring the money. And then when we have the money back, we can start to talk. Because, first of all, listen, the court processes take a long time. What we forget is that every year we spend in court, that's another 4.5 billion. Boom, it's gone. Send another year in court. So at some time, we've got to ask ourselves, do I cut down my losses, collect the money, and move on? Especially when the end product is not really assured. It's a tough decision, but I tend to think the only debate can be, did the Attorney General get the best deal possible?
What's your verdict on that?
I can't tell. I don't know what resources they were. I only know this 2.8 billion and the amount of money he says he's collected, right? All he's saying to us is, he's saying that the government of Ghana has taken a 40% haircut. Let's put it in perspective. What he's saying is that the government of Ghana has taken a 40% haircut in order to recover as much as it can. Given our history of haircuts, that the government has given people haircuts of in excess of 40%.
Haircut.
So really, if the government of Ghana has taken a 40% haircut to recover as much money and to cut down on its losses, I would say I understand, but I cannot sit here and make a judgment. I was not there. You and I were what? We're not there. We can only trust that as Attorney General, we have to trust that he did his best under the circumstances, right? It still leaves us with this whole knotty issue of, so can I pad my numbers, falsify entries for the central bank and get away with it? That's the knotty issue that's on the ground. But as for recovering the money, taking a haircut to recover the money, I understand.
Okay. Now, let's take a listen to the finance minister. You kept referencing how much the entire financial sector cleanup cost and whether the outcome justifies the cost and whether the process we decided to use is justifiable, taking into consideration the costs we are dealing with now. That's the point you made earlier. This is the finance minister giving an update of how much the entire financial sector cleanup costs, because the last info it's been increasing from 20 billion to 25 billion to 28 billion. The latest figure is what we got last week. Take a look.
Mr. Speaker, after spending a whopping 30.3 billion in the so-called financial sector cleanup exercise, the previous NPP administration left NIB in dire strait with a capital adequacy ratio of a negative 53.13%.
That's 30.3 billion cedis. That's the latest figure of what was spent on the financial sector cleanup, of which UniBank was affected. Martin Pebo is private legal practitioner. He's joining us on Zoom. He's unable to join us in the studio for good reason. Counsel, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, morning, Mr. Ocansey. Morning. Good to be here on Ghana's #1 talk show, right? Yes, undisputed and unparalleled. We give you the best content ever as the #1 talk show. As usual, let me quickly do the rituals. Of course, the first greetings go to all citizens of Ghana for the yeoman's job that we did in terms of booting out the MPP administration. The reason today we have to thank citizens again is that, the more you get revelations of wrongdoing, etc., then you see that, we really, really did a good job, right? Yes, this week you saw the invitation of Paul Adumochiri to the OSP. Apparently, all the noise he was making, it's because of the opportunities he was getting. Yes, because it was just unbecoming that Paul was doing that kind of hatchet job. Paul Adumochiri doing a hatchet job, saying things very unsavory. It's like he was on a different planet. But now with the OSP case, we've seen why he was motivated to do those things. There are more cases coming under ORA, etc., right? In the Attorney General's press conference. So it's exciting. So anytime there's a new revelation, of wrongdoing under Akufo-Addo's dispensation, we have to say thank you again to the people of Ghana. Thank you, thank you. Then once again, let's greet Sofa Akufu Yas Antwa. More fire, Domahine, more fire now, Court of Appeal judge, right? And other people who were elevated. Justice Boidi, the one who granted Afuku bail, Gregory Afuku bail, and was thrown into the Volta regime. Boidi to now, Court of Appeal judge, my Lord Justice Boidi, good morning. And all the other people we usually would greet Gamanche. Oh yes, Mr. Ocansey. Let's not forget Kentucky Tech, which through Gamanche. Gamanche won his case about over a week ago.
Yes.
The last time I mentioned that there had been this case where they sought to remove Gamanche's name from the list of chiefs, the National Register. But Gamanche has won the case in the Supreme Court. So, good morning, Gamanche. More fire on the Sicily Adapa matter. Okay, so Mr. Ocansey, yes.
No.
Well, let me come back to you.
Yes, I'm going to come. I'm going to come to you. It's okay, Prof. It's okay.
He's always talking about this. Let's push it.
You want to find out, yes, what the update is.
What is that? Me and you, was it the matter?
The state of affairs on the...
Me and you are in court over that.
Yes, the state of affairs on the Sicily Adapa case. What's the latest on it? Counsel, quickly.
Yes, so Sister Adapa, there are a number of decisions, a number of cases. So let's mention ours. Professor Jampo and I sued the Attorney General at that time, of course, in the office, but at that time, Godfrey Tami was in charge, because he said that Iyoko cannot investigate Sicily Adapa for money laundering because so far there is no evidence about how Sicily Adapa came by the money. Can you imagine? Sicily Adapa was found with plenty of money under her bed in her house, and then the ones the Patience Butchery allegedly took and other ones. Attorney General Godfrey Tami turned the law on its head that we should first of all find a predicate offense. That's if we can't show whether Sicily Adapa got the money from narcotics, whether from bribery, whether from murder, whether from robbery, etc., then Iyoko cannot do such an investigation. And so they stopped Iyoko. Of course, at that time it was Mamiti Wadu Dankwa, the cheerleader of bad governance in Ghana, supporting Akufo-Addo to do bad things. You remember
Counsel, I have to update
the other case.
I have to an update on the Sicily Adapa case. Yes, just a brief one, because I just wanted a quick update. So
yes, so basically, I'm just giving you. Okay, so we just go on straight. So the last time we went to court in July, the judge has adjourned the matter to October to give a ruling. Yes, the Attorney General's office. Can you imagine the curious part of it? They are fighting certain parts of the case. We'll leave the judge to decide. Yes. So we are in court because we want the court to declare that we don't need to first of all show where Sicily Adapa got the money from before we can do money laundering, because we have changed the law. We have changed our laws. That requirement that show where the person got the money from before the person is using it for another purpose, we have since changed it in the new Anti-Money Laundering Act. So the judge will give a ruling on it, in October, and then the rest of the case will continue. Okay. But secondly, to Iyoko, Remonacha, good morning, Remonacha. Remonacha has gone back into investigating the matter because it's clear that Iyoko has jurisdiction to, investigate money laundering. So the investigations are ongoing. We wish Raymond good luck, yes, because when it works out well, it's for all of us as Ghanaians.
It is indeed for the greater good. Thank you very much. And Dr. Amakoba, I'll come back to this particular bit on the decision by the Attorney General in this UniBank case, that is the Republic versus Dr. Dufo and the 7 others. And I made reference to how this case has evolved over time, taking into consideration how the figures have also changed as well, and the Attorney General's position that based on his own assessment of the facts in front of him, pursuing this case would result in more liability than some gain for the state, and so decided to go in for this agreement and sign a nolle prosequi. Did he take the box for you?
Well, punishment doesn't feed children. That's the first thing. It doesn't feed children. You may feel good. Now, I got him now. Look at him. That's all you got. It doesn't feed the children. So any way you look at it, restitution is more important than punishment. When you finish the restitution, you can come and consider punishment. To what extent should I punish this person? That's how sometimes even in the United States, you get a witness who is very forthcoming. You let him go free. Even relocate the person, witness protection, all of that, because he has been very helpful in this case. Mm-hmm. We don't learn that. We just want to show that guy he's a small guy. We got him now. That makes no sense. You can't, okay, you are trying to punish me, he dies, what are you going to do now? What? It's all gone. He's dead. So this idea of punishment, yes, I agree we should not allow lawbreakers to go free. But you have to temper that with the other side. Does it happen in the country? You put him in jail, you're going to feed him too. Then he says he's sick, you take him to hospital. All of these things are coming back to the state again. So always look to see if you can recover some of the stolen loot before you consider punishment. Otherwise, you are not helping the state at all. As I've said, punishment does not feed children. Hospitals, chip compound, whatever, all these are very important, and it takes money. And they are stealing the money, and you just want to throw them in jail and forget it. No. So get the money back. I support that. Sometimes you may even give them sweetheart deals in order for them to help you get the money. Do it and get it, if that's what it takes. And it's been done all over the world except us. So please, let's not get this idea that you are here to punish people. You are here to collect your money. You've stolen the money, yes, it's wrong. But find a way to get it back. If you put him in jail, how does it benefit the average citizen? How? We're still taking care of him in jail too. Why? So get the money and alleviate our financial burden a little bit. That is more important than you showing that you're punishing him.
Now, so they talk about the element of deterrence as well, and that's what Bawku Powers was referencing a number of times in his submission.
That is the second level.
You would have this agreement because you want to recover.
Yes.
But then it must not also water down the element of deterrence.
No, if you're going to recover money, and the person knows you are serious, he himself will reform himself. In helping you, he's reforming himself. You see, it depends on what you do. All of these are based on the prosecutors. They'll give you a deal. Every case is different. So we should not assume they're all the same. No. If the person is forthcoming, why are you making things so hard for him? If he's forthcoming to make you get your money, even tell on others who have done the same thing. Wouldn't you make things a bit easier for him? And you want to make it hard so you can go and rant on his cronies? No, he won't. But there are some witnesses to cases. They will come forth, give you ideas, give you a headline, go here, look at this. Yes, this is valuable information. And if it helps you get more money out, you cut his punishment level. That's how it's done. Sometimes a person is jailed 5 years. And then when he sees a high 5 years, my goodness, I'm going to stay in jail for 5 years, he starts talking. And when he offers valuable information to arrest others, the jail term is cut down. And that's how it should be. Every case is different. You should not lump all of them together. If a witness is forthcoming, help him by cutting his term of imprisonment so he can even give you more help for you to get more money.
Well, Dr. Zato, the Attorney General took this decision, it says, based on this assessment of the information before him as he inherited. And taking into consideration what Mr. Jackson talked about, the amount that this entire exercise has cost us cannot also be underestimated. Over 30 billion cedis. That's no joke. And now the focus of the Attorney General to recover as much from this entire process, taking into consideration what I just put out there about the debt as well that the government of Ghana owed the defunct UniBank. What has he done wrong exactly?
Thank you very much, Alfred. I think that there's a lawyer here, he's talked about the legal issues very well. There's a finance guy, he's talked about the finance issues very well. Since I'm neither of them, I want to talk about the politics or the policy issues of this, because that is where I think I know better. And then I'll tie in these two at the end of my presentation.
There's no politics in this, actually.
Okay, thank you. So I'll talk about the policy aspect. Because
unless you see politics in this.
I see politics and I see policy, because the Attorney General is a policy maker and a politician. So his decisions are also policy and politics. Thank you. Before we come, we must go back to try to look at how we got here. How we got here and what drove us here. A new government came in 2017. And the new government, partly as part of it, was saying that there were problems with the banking sector and that the issues have to do with banking sector finances and whatever. And precisely because of that, the new government decided to go ahead and, let's say, clean up the mess they made. I'm happy Joe Jackson has just acknowledged that there was actually a mess, that things had to be done. But he disagrees with the method, which is always exactly, because once you identify a problem, solutions can be different. So there was something to be done. When that was going, it was painful, it was difficult. People lost their jobs, banks lost their licenses. But there was also another narrative for it from the then opposition. The argument was that, one, it was the cleaner was not necessary. Two, that the amount of money put there is too much. And that three, it is the third part that actually stands, that it was a calculated political attempt to punish banks that were seen to be associated with the former government. In other words, part of the argument that they were making was that you were targeting, let me say, bankers or owners of banks who had direct or close links with the NDC, and that your ultimate objective was to make the NDC financially weak so that they cannot come back again. That was a very palpable argument that was made. In fact, it is this argument that led some leading members of the then opposition and now government to claim that when they come to power, they will give back the suspended licenses. So I want to create that context. So we see it within that context that this was, so it was this process, even though it was banking, finance, accounting, whatever, was highly politicized. And this was then these arguments came up. That one, it was partisan, which are about bankers that were seen to actually with the former government, and that if we come back, we'll give them a license. There were statements made to that effect by leading members of the current government.
The statement was that they'll assess the banks that have been collapsed and those ones that other means could have been employed other than collapsing them, a decision will be taken to restore. And that's what Joe Jackson was talking about, that the processes were quite draconian.
So the context
that cost us that much.
Okay, so I want to establish that. So I'm speaking within that context of that. These were highly political or partisan positions taken. Now, I've heard somebody tell me that the governor of the Bank of Ghana just said that they are not going to reissue the licenses. I don't know whether it's definite or it's still assessing. But anyway, let's go back to, now, that is what happened. So now you now come back to this particular case. Again, I want to set this within the context of what is known as what? Operation Recover All Loot. The operational word, if you listen to last year by this time, August by this time, there were two big phrases of the campaign. That was done. One was what? 21 7 jobs. And the big one was Operation Recover All Loot. The government made it a very big point that every single loot was going to be recovered. That any man or any woman who has, for want of a better word, chopped government's money, or anyone who hasn't, will be persecuted, and all the money will be what? Recovered. It was Operation Recover All Loot. That was what was promised Ghanaians. That was what was promised everybody. So again, I want to situate this particular deal within that context. That look, if you promise Operation Recover All Loot, are you recovering all loot? Because remember, there's always something that I say. In opposition, mostly political parties campaign in poetry and absolutism. In power, political parties seem to want to govern in prose and sometimes relativism, a very high rate of relativism. And that is why sometimes the ordinary people then begin to lose faith in politicians. That is why ordinary people think that all politicians are crooks, all politicians are liars, all politicians are not being fair and speaking the truth. It's because we say something in opposition, and then when we come to power, we say a different thing. Bright Simmons of Imani has done a study of this particular deal. His conclusion is that, one, the state is not getting any 60% of it. No. In fact, he concludes by saying that the state is getting 10%. And this is what he says. Point 25. In any serious country, the press conference of the AG today will be beginning, not the end of the national debate about how Ghana tackles financial losses involving the rich and powerful society. The question is Ghana a serious country or a capitanomic society? Judge for yourselves. That is the damning verdict of an independent analyst who has sat back. Nobody can say, what's his name? Bright Simmons is NDC or APP. No. That is the damning verdict of him. I have another verdict here from a man called, what's the name? Suleiman Ibrahim. And he's posed a very simple question. Does it mean that if Kofi Annan stole or misappropriated 100 million of state funds and are facing prosecution, you will or may discontinue prosecution if you are able to recover up to 60 million or 60% of the stolen misappropriated funds from Kofi Annan? Again, poo-hooing or damning this. But all of that, I want to try to situate it within what the venerable Martin Amidu wrote about this deal. It's worth reading. But this is what he said. He sat back and everybody knows Martin Amidu. Attorney General is there, Office of Special Prosecutor is there, and it doesn't matter who you are, his writings and his research on corruption and corruption-related issues are par excellence. Nobody can accuse Martin Amidu of it. This is how he starts his writing. It's important that the decision of the government to abort the criminal trial by the entry of the prosecute as a result of a negotiated settlement with the accused persons to recover only 60% of proceeds of the financial crimes committed by the accused persons, instead of submitting the settlement agreement to the trial court or asking the accused to make offer of compensation or restitution and the subsequent risks of high corruption. That is the damage. That's the first paragraph of what Martin, he says it reeks of high corruption. He goes to study under different texts. One of them is conflict of interest and abuse of power. And this is what Martin Amidu says. On the dice says, the foregoing demonstrated the government represented, I will mention them, is tainted by conflict of interest with the Attorney General, again, further tainted with abuse of discretionary power under the 1992 Constitution by entering this null prosecution. And then I want to go to how he tries to end it. It's not if that. This is what Martin Feder says. I've read and reread the written brief of the Attorney General several times, and have no doubt in my mind that it is the most dishonorable and dishonest brief intent for the public I've ever come across from my Attorney General in my life as a student at the Faculty of Law, Ghana School of Law, my entire career as a lawyer and a public officer over the decades. That is what Martin Amidu is saying. And this is how he concludes. Listen, the government's decision to abort the trial in public court under the rubric of the exercise of prosecutorial discretion smacks of textbook example of governance of family, friends, and cronies, and also smell of high corruption. When you are faced with what the Attorney General was saying, is the same thing, and you are faced with what Govt Dam is saying, I would disregard both of them because they are both partisans on both sides. But when you have a former Attorney General, this man that everybody knows, agree or disagree with him, this is position, saying, rendering such a damning verdict on it, agree with him, and I want to go with that. Okay. Because it does a number of things to our body psyche. And I ask the very simple questions. Right now, there are so many people that this Attorney General or the government is prosecuting. One, will the Attorney General come out boldly to tell us that? And secondly, and also we have the oral report in front of him right now. He's going through it. Will the Attorney General come out and say, as a policy of this government, we are going to put on the table restitution, as you said. That any case we are investigating, no matter what it is, we are prepared and willing to also accept monetary restitution and let the people go. Because when you do that, then you clothe yourself and protect yourself from these accusations. Because you've just told everybody, look, this is part of our policy. Remember how the Interior Minister came out and said, as part of the policy on Galamsey, they will accept deportations. I always like when governments make their policies clear. In that case, you can criticize the policy, but you didn't know that this is what the government stands. Will the Attorney General say that? So that we can then ask ourselves, what happens? A lot of resources, time, energy, technology, and probably money was used to compile the oral report. And similarly, almost every Attorney General and prosecutor agency spends a lot of resources, state resources, money, time, energy, technology to investigate the case and carry the case to court. What happens if tomorrow another Attorney General comes and all this hard work that this Attorney General is doing also throws them inside a dustbin in the name of policy nolly prosecute? What happens to all the energy and all the effort that the young lawyers and some of the old lawyers have done in the Attorney General's office? Those of things become very difficult for us and very important for us to see as we continue to build a nation, as we continue to strengthen our governance, as we continue to strengthen our accountability measures. We need to get these policies clear so that people begin to then understand that the Attorney General is not only interested or does not only go to court to try to convict people, but that sometimes the Attorney General will also make public and put online this thing. My brother used a theory called principal agent theory. That was a very good element of it. Student of public policy and political science understands that theory very well. One of the most important, one of the things that is put in place is you realize that principals and agents, the agents also have more information than the principals. It's what leads to what we call information asymmetry. That because the agents have that information, sometimes they can use that information to cheat, to deceive the principal, and that is what seems to have been happening here. And I think the objection made to that, there was something called liquidity, misuse of liquidity support, and we're also talking about padding the numbers. So when you begin to see all this, these are all part of what they falls under.
Those are the three causes.
Yes, again, so it falls under the rubric of what information asymmetry that agents use all the time to try to cheat, to deceive, or to get away with the principals. If we have now got somebody that we can prove, I mean, everybody's saying that there are other things in this whole thing that you say may be difficult to get a conviction. People have said that. But even here today, my brother and Joe Jackson have agreed that you can clearly establish that there was information asymmetry, that there was the padding of the numbers. We are told that we can clearly say that the money, government gave you some support, and that misuse of support, liquidity support, Bank of Ghana gave you money you use. So at least, what I was saying, that even if you are dropping all those other charges, you could then say, look, I will drop A, B, C, D. But this particular one that looks relatively easy to convict. I'm not saying it is easy. That I will maintain it. But the point is this. You didn't do that, you let it go. You let it go. Then I'm saying that, is it a coincidence? Is it a coincidence that this Attorney General, again, has issued a record number of nolly prosecutions than almost any other Attorney General since 1992? I stand to be corrected. If I get any evidence, I will track that. More than that. One. Two, almost all these nolly prosecutions given, issued were to former current in these high-ranking NDC members. Is it also a coincidence? And then third, you then begin to ask the question, how then do you say that, one, you are a Minister of Justice, that's just the case, but then it seems that only a particular number of people from a particular political party seems to be those getting the nolly prosecutors and going home, whilst a certain particular group of people from a different political party seems to be those that are under constant and serious investigation.
So you would have opted for prosecution?
No, I'm saying that I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a prosecutor, I've not seen this, but I'm saying that, one, clearly declared that this is the government's policy, that we campaign on operating, recover all loot. But right now, we want to modify it to say that we are prepared to accept operation, recover some loot, and leave some of the loot. Make that clear. Secondly, come back and say that, okay, the people that we are prosecuting now, those in the other political parties that do not align with me, we are also prepared that for them, we'll make them deals. That's so, for instance, if it's Chairman Wuntumi, we can make a deal. If it's Mustafa Hafimid, we can make a deal. If it is the Botton guy, the signals guy, we can make a deal. My point is, when you make it like that, then everybody then knows that this is how the Attorney General's office is now operating. We now have a system where, yes, when you come and we think that is difficult, because I don't think there's any Attorney General or prosecutor anywhere in the world who takes a case to court and just believes that and just knows that I'm going to win it outright. No, every case has its own merits and every case is difficult. So let us know if there's a plan. And ultimately, let us then understand that these knowledge prosecutors, you are open to offering them to anybody that can make a deal. Okay. Once you don't do that, it looks like you are weaponizing the knowledge prosecutor, one, to benefit your political friends and to punish your political opponents. We cannot live in the country like that.
That's a point you made about the assessment that some others have made, making the point that looking at the facts that they have seen, would have been difficult for the Attorney General to reach or get any conviction in this particular case. And that's what he also referenced, that in this Beige 1, that informed largely how the engagement and negotiation with this particular UniBank shareholders went or transpired, taking into consideration some of the references that I've just made in that detail I put on the screen, as to how much even the receiver, as of last year, went to court to revise that said figure from when it started from 5.7 billion to the 2.8 billion. So this figure, in fact, beyond that, this 3.3 that the Attorney General mentions is even more than the 2.8 billion that the receiver went last year to the court to claim. But the Attorney General gives detail briefly, and I'll come to you, Professor Jampo, on what part that he's taking in going for this said amount. Take a listen.
A total of 0.5 billion has to date been recovered out of the 1.2 billion being pursued from the direct beneficiaries. Recovery of the remaining balance of 0.7 billion out of the 1.2 billion Ghana cedis and the realization of the landed properties provided are expected to be completed over a timeline of 18 months. A total of 0.5 billion has to date been recovered out of the 1.2 billion being pursued from the direct beneficiaries. Recovery of the remaining balance of 0.7 billion out of the 1.2 billion Ghana cedis and the realization of the landed properties provided are expected to be completed over a timeline of 18 months.
That's the Attorney General. And for example, earlier when Joe Jackson referenced this particular exercise and how that also has influenced what we are talking about now. Dr. Zato referenced the politics around this entire cleanup exercise. Apart from that, you cannot also discount the cost of it as well and how that had influenced the outcome that we are seeing now, taking into consideration the decision by the Attorney General to now opt for a recovery to, as in his words, settle some of the debts that this entire process has incurred on us as a people. Now, the other reference is made to what the Attorney General could have done differently based on the facts that were before him. He says, looking at the facts before him, pursuing this could lead to not having any conviction. So in exercising discretion, he decided to now opt for this restitution. Let's take a listen to the Attorney General again.
The battery fell.
monies didn't go out to anybody. These were just book entries that were designed to make the books of UniBank look good. That is how come that in the criminal case, the charge of falsification of accounts was brought against them. So they did not loot the money. They did not give the money to anybody. They just made entries that were meant to give Bank of Ghana, the central bank, the impression that the bank was doing well. Okay. Then the exclusion of 0.3 billion relating to UniBank's placement with a SEC-regulated, SEC-related company currently in receivership, which is being pursued separately through the insolvency proceedings. After prolonged negotiations, the accused persons, by a letter dated 7th May 2025, made a proposal to settle the revised outstanding obligation of 3.3 billion Ghana cedis through a structured approach. The accused persons offered to pay 2 billion Ghana cedis in full and final settlement of the outstanding obligations through the following arrangements: 800 million worth of assets to be transferred directly to UniBank, which is in receivership, which will now make that available to the Bank of Ghana. And then their active cooperation and participation to assist the receiver to recover an additional 1.2 billion from the direct beneficiaries paid out on their instructions. Out of the above arrangements, the accused persons have provided landed properties valued at 824 million Ghana cedis to UniBank. That is, in receivership. Further, in other words, indirectly to the Bank of Ghana or the Republic of Ghana. Further, the accused persons will be responsible for any shortfall in the proceeds realized from the sale of the landed properties. A total of 0.5 billion has to date been recovered out of the 1.2 billion being pursued from the direct beneficiaries. Recovery of the remaining balance of 0.7 billion out of the 1.2 billion Ghana cedis and the realization of the landed properties provided are expected to be completed over a timeline of 18 months. Although the preference would have been for me and my team for the accused person to settle the proposed amount in cash, immediate settlement in cash was not, from my sense of what transpired at the negotiations, a realistic possibility or a realistic option. In assessing the proposal submitted by the lawyers for the accused persons, I took into account the following factors. The receiver of UniBank acknowledged that the fictitious amounts totaling 2.1 billion did not result from cash outflows, but related to accounting entries that overstated the asset base of the bank, which predated UniBank's placement in official administration.
This is the path that the Attorney General is taking in recovering the said amount that he has settled on in this agreement with UniBank, taking into consideration how this case has evolved till now. Mr. Jampo.
Under President Mahama's reset agenda, you now have an Attorney General who is open, wants to come out in the public domain to address the press and to subject his activities to public scrutiny. I think it's something that is commendable. A days where AGs were not doing some of these things are gone. And so for me, to the extent that there is information being put out there to give all of us something to chew on and for us to scrutinize is something that is a feather in the cap of President Mahama's reset agenda, and it's important that we put this out there in the public domain so that it becomes a certain standard. Duty bearers must be accountable. Duty bearers are not 10 gods or 10 goddesses who must always be in their offices and pretend that they know it all and that they are not accountable to the public. Now, my whole view about this is to make the point again, I think it's been made, but quite forcefully, that the whole idea of the banking sector cleanup was predicated on somebody's vendetta. Now, if you conduct vindictive politics, it would always be quid nolle prosequas when power changes hands. If politics is not based on substance, if it is about today, I am in power, I will teach you a lesson. I mean, the commonsensical thing that you can think about when power changes hands is that people would also resort to some of these things to counterbalance what you may have done. That is not to legitimize it. I will go on to my main. But I think for starters, we must get it clear. If you get to power and you want to collapse other people's banks so that you flourish yours, and you do that in efficiency, the idea of efficiency is to use little to achieve more. You have a problem, we are told the problem was about 9 billion, and then
10 billion.
Less than 10 billion, and you used 30.3 billion to solve that problem.
So
what is wrong with your head? And we are here talking. When you have used over 30 billion to attempt to address a 9 billion problem, and there are repercussions and all, we are bold enough to not. I mean, and this is the country in which we find ourselves. NATO country.
Insanity. That's what it is.
It is no action, talk only. NATO country. 30 billion. I mean, who does this?
Nobody.
Look, somebody had to be arrested for a crime that he had committed. He owed me. I asked that they go for the money. He was being asked, someone, the police called him. I said, it's not the duty of the police to be asking for people's debt. But when the police said they wanted to go and summon the person, there's some time, some time passed. They said, can you fuel our car? I said, no problem. Get this to fuel your car. They went. The person was not there. The following day, they went. The person had bolted. Finally, they got the person to the court. And then they said, I needed a lawyer. The lawyer gave me a certain bill. I added the amount of money that I had paid to the police to fuel their vehicles, and then looked at the amount of money that I was going to be paying to my lawyer. I compared it to how much the person owed me. It didn't make sense to me. I said, later when I said that, he brought me back. So the idea of inefficiency, first of all, on the part of those who led the banking sector crisis, must be established. So when we appreciate that we did what was wrong, if you appreciate it first, then you want to move on to analyze what is being done to address what was wrong, and you are able to puncture holes in what is being done to address what was wrong, then you are making a lot of sense, and you are also trying to bring other people on board. So because the problems of Ghana are such that we cannot offer a holistic solution to them if we don't build a lit consensus on how to address them. But in building a lit consensus on how to address them, first of all, if you were wrong, you must admit that, look, this thing we goofed. But going forward, once you say you goofed and you want to advise the one who is also advancing some solution to the wrongdoing, the person becomes sober in listening to you. Otherwise, then it doesn't, you even annoy. As you proffer solutions, you sound annoying because you use over 30 billion to address a problem that is less. I mean, are we? I don't know, but I want to be. But what is wrong with this? All right, let's move on to talk about this AG's intervention. I listened to the man, and the man is saying that if I go on the tangent that people are saying I have to go on, I may end up not securing any conviction, and I may not get anything. And so, this is the route I want to go. if there is some monies that can be accrued to the state, let us recover. After all, the name is Operation Recover All Loot. The idea is to recover. It is not about you owe me, I prefer to jail you than recovering. In the ambulance case that the current finance minister was involved, we are told that the company said that because of their own name and reputation, they didn't want the matter to go. They wanted to pay off whatever was due the state. And we are told that this was objected. In the end, we didn't get the money. We didn't secure the finance minister's conviction too. And I asked myself, so did we go or did we come? And so my view is that it's a democracy. It is within our rights to make suggestions that, look, trying to secure some monies from this whole thing is good. But we think that more can be done. I mean, if you say this, and President John Mahama is a listening president, and I'm sure that they watch some of these things, some of these programs that are convened. And I'm sure that the Attorney General may also be listening to some of the sentiments that are being expressed. If you make the point that, look, we think that, and crime has no expiry date, I'm not sure that anybody would say that legitimately, if we believe that beyond the collection or recovering of what has been lost, there were other procedural issues, there were other acts that borders on criminality, and they must also be addressed, or we must also take those involved on. I don't think that if anybody makes this case, the person will be wrong. But my point is, before making this case, situate whatever your analysis is well. Okay, so that we all understand that some people decided to go on the tangent of vindictive politics because Adrimboniba Ukratimo Tongum using 30 billion to solve a problem. If you have 30 billion and the problem was 9 billion, why didn't you give them 10 billion and keep the rest for the state? We are not talking about that. And we are interested in recovery. Look, let us not fester, let us not create an impression. Nobody's creating an impression that there shouldn't be enough deterrence. I've heard arguments that is saying that, look, whatever is being recovered, is it going to be plus interest? Whatever is being recovered, have we factored the properties of those who are deemed to be culpable? Because some people are also saying that if you don't take care, if people feel that we can always embezzle or misapply or involve in some of these acts of criminality, and if push comes to shove, we will just be asked to pay, then it will fester the idea of let us do what is wrong. I believe that we should have deterrence. And I want to believe that we in a democracy, we have every right to make some of these calls to the powers that be. That look, we should also emphasize the fact that we do not want a situation where you simply go and collect your money, and then other things that are there that can be done wouldn't be done, and then in that case, then it will fester. It will fester some of these practices. But the point must be made that, for me, the name of the game is to recover all loot. And if somebody goes on that tangent, I'll commend the president, I'll commend the Attorney General for the tangent that is chosen. But beyond that, if there are legitimate concerns that there are other things that would have to be done to ensure that there is adequate deterrence, I think it will not be out of place to make those recommendations. And I believe, like I've said, the president is watching, he's listening. And the Attorney General is also minded by some of the public reactions and sentiments that come. And to the extent that the idea is to reset Ghana, I do not believe that if the points are being made and they are legitimate and they would all help, they will help in resetting Ghana, I don't think that they will close their ears are closed, to some of these recommendations. But like I said, the first thing that must be admitted is that someone caused the problem. You don't cause the problem and stand on the rooftop and begin to shout when somebody is trying to address the problem. You don't shout about the loopholes in the solutions that are being adduced without first admitting that you first brought us, where we are. And so I believe that it is Ghana we all have the right to make recommendations. We all have the right to make our input with the view to shaping public discourse and all that. Who is listening and who would listen, implement some of the proposals and recommendations we are making is critical. And in this case, it is President Mahama. In this case, it is the Attorney General. And I have every hope and belief that so long as what some are saying makes sense, they will not close their ears to it. If it makes sense and they want to do it, they want to do it to ensure that we don't perpetuate, we don't fester as a certain impression, because people are painting impression that if people are saying that if you don't take care, an impression will be created that look, you can do some of these things and go scot-free. If push comes to shove, you will just be asked to refund. If it is not good enough, we can say so. But let's say it's within the context, within the proper context, that it created a certain problem, and that problem must be addressed. And I agree with you, Dr. Mwakuba, that sometimes securing convictions and feeding the people, in prison wouldn't pay people's school fees. It's important that as a nation fighting hard the quagmires of poverty and underdevelopment, as a country wanting to reset itself, if there is every way, every means, every opportunity to recoup or to recover whatever has been lost to the state, we must go forcefully, to recover.
The concern is about how this path of recovery, which across the table, I don't think anybody has any issues with that. How that also impacts on the element of deterrence.
So I've said it. No, I've said it earlier that the Attorney General, I'm sure, is listening. There's been some public sentiments that have been expressed. Let us juxtapose what the public sentiments are with what he has said. He's come out clearly to tell a side of the story. And I'm saying we should even be commending this government for producing such an Attorney General who wants to be transparent, who wants to come out to explain. And we are told that he's not bound to even explain, do what he's done. And so we should be commending them. And I'm saying again that if I'm sure they will be able to juxtapose the public sentiments that are being articulated with the defense or the justification given by the Attorney General. And once the side-by-side comparison is done, I am sure what I see with the John Mahama government now is that they truly want to reset. They want things to be done right. And the last time we went, like I said, on orientation for CEOs, it was made clear that acts of corruption and some of these things will not be countenanced. And we're also told that you should be listening. And so if the comments that are being passed are legitimate and they are properly articulated and in comparison with the position that has been taken, they make sense. I am sure they will be heeded too. But if they don't make sense, or if they will not help, I want to hope and believe that what is right for Ghana is what this government is doing.
Martin Bebo, if you can hear us, I want you to reposition so I get a clear connection to you. Hello? Yes, I can hear you.
Hello?
But I can hear you, but yes, the connection is a bit cranky. So if you could just reposition for me so that we'll have a clearer connection to you. Mr. Jackson, let me come to you on this while we rectify that connection to Martin people. We'll rectify that. You see, we've seen that round concern about what could have been done differently. But then again, you conclude by saying that in the end, the focus should be on what can be recovered based on the Attorney General's own assessment of the facts before him. He came to give the details of the facts before him, and the fact that if, based on his own judgment and discretion, pursuing this to the end, he may not even secure conviction. And that will mean that we would have lost any recovery whatsoever, as in the case of Beige. Does that cut it?
It does. It does, for the simple reason that as of today, we owe 30 billion.
That is the cost of the cleanup.
The cost of the cleanup. That cannot be reversed. That has already been spent. So the best we can do is to ask ourselves that, does this make sense? What lessons can be learned? And then rapidly move to reduce that bill by recovering as much as we can. And truly, that should be our priority now. How do we recover and reduce the burden on the public purse? In addition, in terms of lessons learned, then comes the next question. How do we make sure this does not occur again? How do we make sure that in recovering the money, we don't create a moral hazard where everybody goes around thinking, I can do it, pay 60%, hold 40%, and get away with it?
Did the Attorney General do well in explaining why he decided to go on?
He did. He gave his reasons. Mm-hmm. And I'll be honest with you, I appreciate the Attorney General coming out to tell us why he did it. We can and if he didn't, we wouldn't even be able to carry on this debate. And telling us the numbers and where he's coming from, for better or for worse, whether you agree with him or not, you have to appreciate the fact that he could come out and speak to you and tell you what is happening. We appreciate that. We will always agree with him? Maybe not. But at least we can have an honest discussion about what is happening.
Unlike the case previously.
Definitely.
And if you can now, yes, I think that the connection to you is a bit clear now. Now, I was asking the question about whether this path that the Attorney General is taking, which Joe Jackson comments, and across the table, there's that appreciation of he wanting to do things differently by explaining why he even signs null or agrees or files a null prosequas. Is it doing him any good? Or, as was the case previously, the Attorney Generals that came before him will sign and also agree to or file null prosequas and not explain to us the reasons why they took that decision?
Hello?
I can hear you clearly.
Okay. Yes. So this decision to come out with information is doing Ayini extreme good, if we can use the word extreme. Because, you see, he's laid bare the facts. And the facts are in his favor. What are these facts that are in his favor? He says he's not sure. There are a number of them. We cannot exhaust all, but let's see what we can do in the limited time. He says he is not sure that he can secure a conviction. Please, and that is the technical point we cannot just brush aside. He is in the saddle, and he says that he cannot guarantee this is what you call a conviction. So when the man in the saddle cannot guarantee a conviction, the best thing is to recover, because half a loaf is better than none. That's a key thing. Half a loaf is better than none. Now, when he says he's not sure he can secure a conviction, let's not forget, Mr. Ocansey, I believe you have the Attorney General's opinion at the time. Govt signed it 25th January 2019, where Govt himself said the revocation of the license is illegal. I hope you have that. Let me read instructive portions of it. And these things were going to be used against us in court, against the Republic, because the person the government asked to write an opinion on the revocation of the UniBank license, has publicly, advised the Finance Minister Foriata that the revocation is illegal. And you say you are going to court to win. Which case? How are you going to win a case in which the Attorney General, the advisor to the government, says the revocation of the UniBank license is illegal? Look, the report, let's read page 5. There are a number of pages we can read. Godfred Dami at the time raised so many things against the revocation of the license. Let's start with this. Page 5, the last but one paragraph.
Right.
I'm reading. He says, it is apparent from the foregoing that revocation of license of a bank or a specialized deposit-taking institution or the appointment of a receiver are not part of the actions that may be taken pursuant to a report prepared under Section 114. So here he is. He says revoking a license is not part. Let me give the context because we cannot read all because of limited time. Earlier on in the pages before page 5 up to where I read, Godfred Dami referred to the fact that when you appoint a receiver, okay, the receiver in 90 days has to give you a report on the operations of the bank, etc. Now, based on the report, you are now supposed to, that's when you say you, Bank of Ghana is supposed to take remedial measures on what to do to make sure the bank operates well. Hello, Mr. Ocansey?
I can hear you clearly, but we can't see you though, but yes.
Yes, so then you go to, so that I'm sure this is better so that we don't lose me. Now, so you go to Section 115, then you see that some of the remedial measures, Section 115 of Act 930 says that increase of capital by existing shareholders. And that is exactly what Dufour did by writing to the governor that, look, I want to inject 1 billion. Then the governor said, we don't want to do it. We are bent on doing a political vendetta, all right? Vengeance. We want to cut oxygen to an NDC-linked bank. So they said, no, they are not taking it, right? Then you go to Section 116. It says recapitalization. So that is to say, bring in more capital. So the Dufours wanted to do it. No, the BOG will not have any of it. Then you go to 117, mergers, sales, and other restructuring like transfer of assets and liabilities. Then you go to, and that's not what happened. Then you go to 118. It says mandatory restricting of liabilities. Then you go to 119. Removal of key directors and key management personnel. So the point we are making is that Godfred Dami said, these are the only things that you can do. You cannot revoke a license. So after all this, then I read to you, and let's repeat for emphasis. That's why he said, it is apparent from the foregoing that revocation of a license of a bank or a specialized deposit-taking institution or the appointment of a receiver are not part of the actions that may be taken pursuant to Amano Dodu's report under Section 114.
And this is contained in Godfred Dami, the Attorney General at the time's own opinion on this.
Exactly. Page 5, and then we go on. So he said it is wrong. Then he went on and came back and said, so once it was based on Amano Dudu's report that they were taking the actions, you cannot use revocation. Revocation of a bank license is not one of the options. Then he went on and said, look, if they wanted to do under Section 16, that's revoke the license under Section 16, the same way of Act 930, then they have to give the UniBank an opportunity, 30 days, to see what they can do to remedy the defects. That was not done. Then he went on, number 3, to say that, look, in the same manner, if you wanted to do revoke the license under Section 112, then in that case, to the same thing, give opportunities. So then he goes to page 7 and says, It therefore cannot be asserted that the termination of official administration was effected in accordance with Section 122 of the Act. So remember that Amano Dodu's tenure as receiver was also cut short because he had been appointed for 6 months, and yet we decided to cut it short in 4 months to do the political vendetta, to do the Beye, Abro and Beye. I've referred to the revocation of the UniBank license as a textbook example of Beye ne Abro, Beye as witchcraft in tree, Abro, all right, just pull it down. Sorry?
Yeah, yes, Council, you make your point. So
Beye and Abro, because look, Oforiatta was jealous. He was basically jealous of the Dufours. So he wanted that by the time they leave office, the Oforiattas would be the biggest business from yes, in Ghana. That was very pure. Beye and Abro, pure and simple. That's what Professor Janko referred to. And let me give you further evidence of the Beye and Abro. Please, you can play back Godfrey Dame tape, the Japa case. Godfrey Dame said it, that it was Akufo-Addo, president of Ghana, and Oforiatta, finance minister, who were on his neck, compelling him to get a conviction of outforcing and Japa by all means, so that there will be a by-election, etc. So please, I've given you evidence that Godfrey Dame said it is Akufo-Addo and Oforiatta who were using him for those unethical things. Please. So I'm not doing just suspicion. He himself has said it, that Oforiatta as finance minister and Akufo-Addo are the ones who were pushing him, destroy these businesses, cut oxygen to NDC. Because Dufours are linked to NDC, if you destroy this bank, then it means that NDC will not get funded, etc. Now, so Council, let's go on with this.
Yeah, so Council, just on the bit of that, Godfrey Dame advice that, or his opinion that you read, how consequential is it, taking into consideration the Attorney General's assessment of the case, so that this decision would be the most probable for the Attorney General? That Godfrey Dame, in his own opinion, said it is apparent that the revocation of a bank's license or appointment of a receiver are not actions permitted under a report prepared pursuant to Section 114. How consequential is this?
It destroys the case. It totally blows up our case in a court of law, because Godfrey Dame says, hey, this revocation is illegal. And in law, you hear lawyers will tell you that there's a popular legal principle. You can't put something on nothing. That's McFoy versus USA. And the Supreme Court of Ghana has stated this principle ad nauseam over 1,000 times. So Godfrey Dame's report, that's his AG's opinion, 25th of January 2019, was going to be used to give us a bloodied nose. We're going to suffer a bloodied nose in court. It was going to be like the Japa case that Godfrey Dame lost recklessly. And so Ayini wasn't going to be reckless, because Godfrey Dame says what you've done is illegal. So if what you've done is illegal, how can you prosecute these people? Because in law, you have to first clear the legality first. If what you've done is illegal, how can you prosecute Dufour, the governor, Isiama, all of those people, Holder Holdings, you know the list? How can you do it when your own actions are illegal? And Godfrey Dame didn't say it once, he didn't say it twice. He said it more than 3 times all throughout the report, where he kept reference. Then he says that, let's give you further evidence. He says that the setting up of CBG itself was illegal. Okay? Yes, he says the setting up of CBG itself was an illegal thing, and the transfer of the assets to CBG is also illegal. Let's read that part slowly so that we get it.
And this is, which specific part of the report are you quoting?
Page 9. So I'm starting from the first paragraph. He says what they did is illegal. He says there is no provision in Act 930 for a receiver appointed pursuant to Section 123 to be vested only with selected assets and liabilities as stated in the letter appointing the receiver. The trust of that letter, together with statements contained in the official public announcements by the Bank of Ghana, all dated 1st August, confirm that the effect of the decisions taken on 1st August 2018 was to transfer the goods, assets, and liabilities to another institution other than the receiver. So you see it. He says there is no provision where you can do, you select somebody, you vest somebody with selected assets and liabilities. He says it is wrong. It is wrong. Then let's go and look at the criminal, listen. He says Ekufuado, Oforiatta, and Governor Addison were engaged in criminal conduct. Let's read that criminal conduct. He says that, now, the receiver, 1 second. He says that, I've gone to page 10, where he says they've engaged in criminal conduct. Criminal conduct. He says, paragraph 8, VII. We know that CBG was incorporated on 1st August 2018, and a certificate to commence business was issued to that bank on 2nd August 2018. We also observe that selected assets and liabilities of the 5 banks were transferred to UniBank on 1st August 2018 via a purchase and assumption transaction before the grant of a certificate to commence business. Section 27 of the Companies Act 1963, Act 179, prohibits a company incorporated in Ghana from transacting a business until it has satisfied the provisions therein and has been issued with a certificate to commence business. A violation of this provision constitutes a criminal offense for which the company and every officer of the company shall suffer a penalty prescribed by Section 29 of the Act. Then he goes on. The transfer of selected assets and liabilities of UniBank on 1st August 2018 is business which CBG was not authorized by law to engage in as at 1st August 2018. Mr. Ocansey, are you with me?
Yes.
So you see, he says they've committed a criminal offense. Yet Godfrey Dami didn't have the courage to what? Prosecute Oforiatta, Governor Addison, and all those people. Rather, he was fostering.
And who was this? Who was this opinion? Who was this?
Fostering and fostering criminal conduct.
Who was this opinion put together for, and for what purpose exactly? With what you have just read, in fact, I have a copy of it. What was supposed to be the consequence of the former Attorney General Godfrey Yeboah-Dame's opinion, as you have elucidated quite clearly, on this entire process, which he describes and raises concerns about the legality of the process and so on? Who was supposed to take action on this?
He addressed it to Ken Oforiatta, Honorable Minister, because at that time they sought to join the Attorney General to this lawsuit. So the Attorney General was saying, hey, that's the case in which Ni Amano Dodu sued Dr. Kwabena Dufour and 16 others.
Yes.
And so Ni Amano Dodu now sought to add the Attorney General. Okay? So then Attorney General is saying that, hey, this case, Charlie, Oforiatta, if they add us to this case, we are in trouble because you've committed a crime. You Addison and Ekufuado, you've committed a crime. You've given license to CBG contrary to the law, etc. And in any event, even this revocation itself is illegal. That's what Godfrey Dami is telling Oforiatta, the finance minister. So he gave him a lengthy opinion showing him that, hey, this is a crime scene. This is a crime scene. CBG and revocation of the UniBank license is a crime scene. Please, let us try and avoid this situation because it will be an embarrassing situation for the government of Ghana, for you, Oforiata, for Akufo-Addo, etc. So that let's run away. Let's flee from this ignominious defeat, this ignominious embarrassment. It shows that we are just on a political witch hunt. That is what Godfrey Dami had written. And yet, these guys would not listen. They continued. So Dominic Ayine has done the right thing by fleeing away from obvious defeat. Unlike Godfrey Dami as Attorney General, who refused to flee from obvious defeat in the Atuforsen and Jakpa case, where he was caught on tape, engaged in unethical conduct, which eventually led to our losing all the money. We didn't even get one CD back. And of course, people are saying that Godfrey Dami should be investigated, charged, and prosecuted for causing financial loss to government. When the foreigners say, look, take this money, then you refuse the money. Of course, you have to add Oforiata and Akufo-Addo because he says he was doing that hatchet job for Akufo-Addo and Oforiata. So that is the state of. And then let's quickly go to this. I don't know if your other panelists refer to it. Look, let's look at Amano Dudu's own report. The 5.7 billion that we're talking about, it never existed, though.
No, so I referenced a particular quote attributed to him in his own report on that whole KPMG thing. We'll flip it and put on the screen right now. Abdallah will just do that very quickly. That part of Amano Dudu, he says, we have not sought to verify, I don't know if that's what you're saying, we have not sought to verify information or perform procedures necessary to express an audit opinion on any financial, non-financial information contained in this report. Let's put it on the screen. And then
absolutely. So that is it. So 5.7 never existed. This thing was just a political vendetta. Abro ni beye. That's Operation Abro ni beye. That's all that Oforiata, Governor Addison, Akufo-Addo, and Godfrey Dami were engaging. Operation Abro ni beye.
I see. Well, there was this point about how much the government owed the bank, and was that consequential in any way? Prof, do that quickly. Mr. Jackson will have to leave us. So quickly.
I just wanted to make this point, listening to Martin, and just thinking about the whole thing again. And you see, like I keep saying, we'll be able to make giant strides in our recommendations to government and in our analysis of this matter when we have been humble enough to admit what went wrong first. Okay, so you owe a bank, and so the bank is unable to meet its obligation. The bank comes to you to say that, so pay me so that I'll be able to meet the obligation. In response, you say, I won't pay you, but I'll collapse you. This is vindictively evil and an incompetent solution to a bank that owes that you must salvage. So I keep asking myself, was that the right way to go? You owe the bank. The bank, because you owe them. Okay, what sort of neck pressing response and solution is this? And then now there is an issue. The same people who saw this, now they are talking. I think that we should be serious in this country as a people in fashioning out solutions to problems. And if we don't want to get serious, when people mean well and they want to look for solutions, I think the least we can do is to pat them on the shoulder and to correct and to encourage them to do what we couldn't do. But to pretend that nothing happened and things just came from the moon. And so, I mean, for me, it doesn't augur well for us as a people who are learned and as a people who are thinking being. I mean, I don't get it. It is, let us reduce it to this simple scenario. I am saying that a government owes a bank. The bank, because of the huge debt, is unable to meet its obligation. So the bank says, well, pay me how much you owe so that I can do what is required of me. And your intervention, your solution is that, well, I'll spend $1 billion to wipe you off. I think that it doesn't make sense to me. And so every discussion about this should be situated, within this, so that we can be seen to be building some consensus as to what must be the way forward. Otherwise, if you don't situate the argument well, it becomes difficult for us to be listened to.
Mr. Jackson, I know you have to leave us, but you see, following from that point that Professor Jampo makes, how much of an impact, really, looking at the government of Ghana obligations to UniBank, and we'll put that on the screen right now, if that was settled, could have changed the dynamics of this particular path that the previous administration took in closing down the banks and also just revoking their licenses, which is not specific to just UniBank. In fact, there are other banks that had similar. GN Bank, for example, had a number of contractors who are taking loans from the bank, executed government contract. Government hadn't paid those contractors, so the contractors couldn't honor their obligations to the bank. And as a result of that insolvency, they went down.
Now, it's important to realize two things. That, first of all, the government did not directly owe the banks. The transaction was through an intermediary. And the bank, and if I give a contractor a loan to go and do something for the government, I am taking a risk. And the risk is that the government may or may not pay on time, or the contractor may not do the work, whatever it is.
Yeah, but
although the ultimate hold on, sir. Although the ultimate person who pays is the government.
Yeah.
Such that if I'm in trouble, I should be able to go to the government and say, these are my list of contractors. If we can establish that you are truly in arrears to them, can we set off this amount? That should be done. It is also important to note that in most cases, the set-off will not have brought them back into the black. There were issues over and above the set-off. The set-off would have reduced what was due, but it would not have eliminated all the issues that the institution had. And in the case of UniBank, that was clear, because remember that even for the Attorney General, he took out that amount. He took out the erroneous bookkeeping entries that had been made falsely to the central bank of 2.1 million. He took that one out. And then he took out some other entries that were supposedly not right. But he still ended up with an amount outstanding, right? And I suppose that also contributed to the reduced amount that the receiver had brought of
from the 5.7 billion to
2.4.
2.8 billion.
2.8 billion. So we have to understand, and there were two separate issues that we have to be clear on. If you make a wrong representation to a public official, in this case your regulator, it is a crime in itself. Then if we spend the public funds to salvage your institution, we have to recover. So you have two issues that are on the table and need to be dealt with. As for the recovery, it must be done. As for the making false entries, we have to deal with the fact that we may be creating a moral hazard.
I agree.
Right? But for me, recover the money. Recover the money. The public person.
Recover all.
Recover all loot clearly. I'm a great believer in recover the money. If you ask me, we should do. We should recover the loot with the Kwabna Eduboahin outstanding case. We should recover the loot with the outstanding.
You cannot mention them. You cannot list them. There are plenty. So every loot.
We will talk about the ones that have been put clearly in the public
That's why you support
domain.
the Attorney General's decision.
I support the Attorney General. Recover the loot.
Okay. Dr. Makoba, you
Well,
haven't spoken
I have
much
to
on
say
this.
simply that a government cannot owe a bank this quantum of money and at the same time come back and say you are not doing what you are supposed to do, therefore I'll yank your license. If the government have paid that part that it owes, don't mention the others, because you never know what happens after that. If the government paid that part, it makes the bank now look attractive, you understand? And they invite more people to invest in that bank. You don't know. So you cannot assume that because the government part is written off, that writing off or taking off is not the same as payment. Payment is infusion of money, which attracts more investors. And so any way you look at it, the government was wrong. If you have to do your duty, what you are supposed to do first, before you go and tackle the government to do its duty. Because you are not doing your duty, the bank is not able to do its duty. That's how you have to, no doubt at all. If you talk to other people, the bank now, abaya bodam, what do you you me minister, uniska, no, so the bank inside bank niska.
But Dr. Makoba, kindly slow down for me, and please.
But please.
Let's be.
Sometimes I want the other people those who don't speak English to understand what I'm saying.
I get you.
It makes no sense.
Yes.
It makes no sense
just
at all.
be temperate in your language.
Okay, it makes no sense.
I just want.
Oh no, the government was mad.
No. Yes.
You want the English version more than the one.
No.
Okay.
You have just.
The government was mad to accuse the bank of not having enough money when you have not paid your money. What is going on here? Doesn't make sense.
Is that a legitimate question to ask, Jackson?
You see, you have to accept that even in trying to raise money, the government debt that was at that time outstanding made it less attractive to investors. So, and he's making a very legitimate point that if the payment had been made, that infusion of funds had come, it would make it even easier to attract investors. And that's clear.
Well, this is the proposal that the shareholders of the bank also made. And Bawku, we'll just take a minute of this. The proposal that the shareholders made, and whether if that was considered at all. And this, bear in mind, was still at the previous managers were exercising discretion in all of this. This Attorney General and this administration is also exercising discretion in another sense to recover what can be recovered. This is the proposal that was made, that yes, this is the 5.7 at the time that you were asking for. But then we could do this, inject 1 billion by mid-July 2018, 1 billion before September end, provide 3.7 billion in assets, and request BOG and Government of Ghana settle the debt that we're all talking about now. Could that have, maybe in a minute, and then we'll go for a quick break?
I think the key question should be, would they have been able to do that? And from where I sit and looking at the data, I don't think they would have been able to do that. Because this is a bank whose directors and shareholders were padding up numbers, padding up figures to look good in the eyes of the central bank. So in this case, how are they going to raise the funds to resuscitate the bank? Or how are they going to inject capital into their operation? I don't see it. There's no clear plan. Because when you read the report from the Bank of Ghana, it is even clear that the bank itself, the shareholders were not able to put in place effective mechanisms to inject some level of confidence in the central bank. In this case, I don't think UniBank would have been able to do that. Okay. And I think given the circumstance, it would have been the best option, even, barring all issues. We have our issues with the financial sector cleanup. But this decision, we must own it up.
I'll go for this quick break. When we're back, getting to some more issues here on Key Point. We're live as well on 3FM 92.7. I've seen about 2,766 of your messages. I'll do well to read as many of them as I can.
Put it on auto reading.
Yeah, so I'll be back shortly after this quick break. Stay with us.
When we come together,
Reporting from the Takoradi Market Circle.
From the heart of the Upper West Regional Capital.
From the heart of the Ashanti Kingdom.
Reporting from Sunyani. From the Central Business District of Navrongo.
The parliamentarians are on recess.
This is where it all unfolds. The moments that potentially alters the course of our nation and the world. These are the individuals we recognize, the voices we amplify, who appears on screen and who contributes behind the scenes. With professionalism at our core, we bring you news you can trust. Impact journalism that makes a difference. This illustrates how diverse perspectives enhance our strength and reinforces our mission. This is 3 News. Leaders in breaking news, exclusive interviews, facts and analysis on TV, radio, online and digital. 3 News, first in news.
Reporting from the Takoradi Market Circle.
From the heart of the Upper West Regional Capital.
From the heart of the Ashanti Kingdom.
Reporting from Sunyani. From the Central Business District of Navrongo.
The parliamentarians are on recess.
This is where it all unfolds. The moment.
Welcome back. This is Key Point on TV3. We're live on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and DSTV channel 279. We're all across the world on 3news.com. A number of your messages that have come through. This one here from Evans Dinko says, good morning. Trust me, President John Mahama watches every major discourse on the mainstream media, live or recorded, particularly on Saturday's Key Point. I am a witness, you said?
Yeah, I know. He does.
Right. He says, I am a witness to that on several occasions, even when he is on official visits to the regions. This president is so humble and sophisticated that he even reads more on X, Facebook, and WhatsApp. So thank you, Evans Dinko. From, I think it's just complimenting the point that you say you are aware.
Yeah.
I see. Musa Abatwa in Aswasi says, good morning. The so-called banking sector cleanup was nothing more than an avenue for two things: siphoning the public purse and persecuting political opponents. If not, why did the government target only banks affiliated with the opposition? And why spend over, now it's not 25 billion, it's 30.3 billion from the finance minister's update to do this cleanup? Thank you very much. In fact, there's a message from Dr. Kwame Asante says, good morning. I think that this 30.3 billion should be investigated. I would suggest that the finance minister does an audit of this 30.3 billion that is quoting to have been spent on this financial sector cleanup. I'd want you to find out from your guests if it's one that they would agree with. I think really an audit to get to know why this much. I think it will serve a good purpose.
But how did he know? Wasn't it through some audit investigations? I'm not sure. The amount. I'm not sure that he's just mentioning the figure on the top of his head.
I think the import of this is to know whether really the 30.3 billion was spent on the said purpose.
Okay, all right.
Of cleaning up.
Oh, okay.
I think it's a valid inquiry.
Otherwise, otherwise, 6 billion is equal to 30.3 billion. I mean, what else? I think I agree with that call for some inquiry. What was it used to do?
This one here says, good morning. Jailing the Dufo and others without collecting the money would not reduce our public debt. Prosecution doesn't mean winning the case. We can also have this approach and recovery with some deterrent, you say. Thank you. The Kizito of Tema East Constituency says, good morning. Dr. Zato in one breath supports looters to be prosecuted, but when it says you reference the other cases that are being investigated as well, he has a different position. I wonder if we're really having this Ghanaian, it says this Ghana at heart. The MPP says looters shouldn't think they would be jailed for few years and later come out and enjoy the said loot. You say, good morning. I feel this principle of recovery should be extended to cover all other persons as well that the Attorney General is having, quote unquote, the deals with. We must know the details as well. Professor Stephen Kwekwasa, good morning. If a bank robber is caught with $1 million in stolen funds, two things happen. First, the money is recovered through civil proceedings. Second, the robber is prosecuted for armed robbery. That's the standard, and it should apply in all looting cases. Civil recovery is not a substitute for criminal prosecution. If billions in depositor funds were misused, we need a dual track you'll see. Thank you. This one here also says, good morning. This I don't get the full import of this, but people, just a quick point before you leave us. There is a response that, in fact, Bawku Powers, you made about the amount of money that is said to have been used for the pardon, and then also what the former Attorney General's position is, or his advice is on this particular issue. People, I seem to have just your bandwidth is still low. Yes, we can still get you clear, but you make.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yes.
So this is the letter Dr. Kwabena before wrote to the official administrator, KPMG. It's dated 5th June 2018. That's why he promised that they will inject 1 billion not later than mid-July, then another 1 billion before September ending. The quick point I wish to make is that, with due respect, I don't know whether it's clairvoyance, soothsaying, or any other method that Mr. Bawku Powers will sit in the studio and say he doesn't think they could have raised that money. It's not about conjecture. It's about giving them the opportunity. So if his own problem is that he didn't think they could raise it. So if he didn't think they could raise it, then it would be that, oh, raise it, let me see. Show me evidence of it. So once you didn't ask them to show evidence of it, it doesn't lie in your mouth now to say you don't think. Please, no. Let's get very serious. It's not about what you think in your head, but demonstrate it scientifically. So that's a key point I want to make. Number two, Mr. Bawku Powers, do you know Goldman Sachs? Do you know JP Morgan? Do you know Merrill Lynch? Do you know Benz and Stairs? These are big boys on the Wall Street. They were involved in subprime mortgage lending. That was worse than what you see in this case. Did anybody yank their licenses? What you do is that there's a principle in banking called too big to fail. Too big to fail. So when you think they've committed offenses, you negotiate with them, punish them, but you don't take away their license and then send thousands of graduates onto the streets as unemployed. That is what I mean by the aproni beye. That's part of the meaning. So check, please, Mr. Bawku Powers. Too big to fail is a serious banking principle that is used so that you save the economy. You just don't think that.
That was employed during the global financial meltdown we saw in 2008. So, but maybe finally, before I let you go as well, that now the path of the Attorney General is to give explanations for this nolle prosequi reasons and then focus on recovery. Should this be the threshold in measuring any Attorney General after Dr. Dominic Ayine, even though the law does not require of him to explain why he files nolle prosequis?
Oh, absolutely. That would be the threshold. We are not turning back. That is to say, henceforth, if an Attorney General does a nolle prosequi, he owes us an explanation. This thing didn't start today. I mean, the quest for explanations didn't start today. Remember Gregory Afuku's case? Yes, Gregory went to court when the Attorney General filed nolle prosequi under Akufo-Addo, when they saw that they were about to lose. They filed a nolle prosequi against Gregory Afuku. And then he went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said, oh, by the Constitution, etc., there's no requirement of an explanation. We're all very unhappy about it because even the Supreme Court itself referred to South African jurisprudence. South Africa is also Africa. And we who got our independence, 1957, etc., they lived under apartheid until, was it 1990 or 91, right? Yet today, they have a lot of structures well ahead of us. So we weren't happy at all with that Supreme Court decision.
Right.
So Dominic Ayine has done the right thing by now entrenching the practice of giving explanations for nolle prosequis. No Attorney General will last in that office after Dominic Ayine if that Attorney General tries to roll back this progress. It's a huge progress. Yes, I concede that Godfrey Dami says there's one case he discontinued, he filed a knowledge prosecution, and he explained. But it wasn't a regular thing in Godfrey Dami's tenure. It's Ayene who has come to entrench it. And so that is now part of the touchstone of the Office of Attorney General.
Right.
Ghanaians will not allow another Attorney General, or let's say the next Attorney General, to roll back this progress. It's not going to happen. So let's keep it. That's a big, there's an advancement in the rule of law, and we are very excited to keep it.
Thank you. Lawyer Matukwebo, and I do apologize to our viewers for the cranky connection to the video, but we could clearly hear you on the voice. Thank you very much for connecting with us. That leads us to our next issue, which has nothing to do with financials, but a lot more to do with security. And it's for good reason, because whatever is happening in the north has some nexus to the south, because the feuding factions in this conflict have communities down south representing them. Yesterday, we did some small recce on our own before the show. There's a community around the Aveno area that has these persons or these factions in this conflict also having settlements there as well. So it cannot be looked at just a northing situation, and I'm talking about the Bawku protracted conflict. This week, the military took a different direction in approach in dealing with this Bawku conflict to restore lasting peace. They are departing from peacekeeping to peace enforcement. This is a security terminology. What does this mean? And that's why we have Dr. Ishmael Norman. He's a lecturer at the Ghana Armed Forces Command and Staff College. He's a security analyst as well. Dr. Norman, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Alfred, and good morning to my distinguished panel members, particularly Dr. Sato.
and I do appreciate your patience. Let me just put it on record. Let's hear from the president this week. This is what the president said about this protracted Bawku conflict and what the renewed focus of the Ghana Armed Forces, over 400 military personnel added to complement the already existing military presence in that part of the country. Take a look.
I take this occasion to appeal to our brothers and sisters, Kusasis and Mamprusis, to give peace a chance. We cannot accept this current situation where students are shot in school and killed. We can't accept the current situation where teachers, public officers have all run away from Bawku because they are afraid for their lives. And we have given the mediation efforts to Otunfo, and he has briefed me constantly on the progress that he's been making. And we are almost there.
That's the president. Says we are almost there. But Dr. Ishmael Norman, what does the movement of peacekeeping to peace enforcement, what does it mean?
Alfred, thank you very much. I think it's a good thing for the Ghana Army to get involved with peacekeeping and peace promotion within the community that is seriously at risk. Alfred, I have a bit of reservations. The Ghana police has 29,000 male police officers, 14,000 female police officers. Altogether, it's more than 43,000 plus.
Yes.
Ghana Army has around 16,000 personnel strength force. And so why do we always call on the Ghana Army to intervene when there is domestic issue? Why are we keeping such a bulk number of police officers? And that's more than twice the size of the entire Ghana Armed Forces. And so there is a problem with the security architecture, and the police organization, the service, needs to pay attention to itself. The legal framework for engaging Ghana Army, Act 105, is already established that the Ghana Army, the president, the commander-in-chief can engage them. The Constitution, Article 2110, Clause 3, allows the president to do what he's doing. But peacekeeping is different from peace enforcement. Peacekeeping is under international protocol of the United Nations. Peace enforcement is under domestic protocol, criminal justice system, criminal law, constitutional law, and police skills. How many of those 400 men that have been sent to Bawku really understand military police protocols? How many of them are from the military police? There is a huge problem there. And my fear is that a soldier cannot say, I won't go, whether he has the skills to do something or not. The moment the command is given, they follow it. My fear, Alfred, and my brothers here, is that there is a likelihood that we have created the ecosystem for what happened at Ejura to happen in Bawku. Because the average police officer seems to understand a bit of community, has community consciousness and awareness in terms of managing conflict. The average soldier, their natural response is to shoot, to kill, if they feel threatened. How much training have been given to them before the deployment?
Don't you think the answer to that question?
Let us fully, when you spoke about, I just want us to set a certain context. When you spoke about peace keeping and peace enforcement, I quickly had to type something so we can appreciate the nuances of peace enforcement. And so peace enforcement is also about human protection of rights. It's not only about, so let me, I just wrote this. When we talk about peacekeeping, traditionally, you are talking about the deployment of neutral forces with the consent of all parties to a conflict to monitor ceasefire, separate warring factions, and create a secure environment for peace talks. On the other hand, when you talk about peace enforcement, you are talking about a more robust approach that may involve the use of force to compel compliance with peace agreements or to protect civilians, even against the will of one or more parties to the conflict. So my point is, we should not go project the tangent of shoot to kill. Peace enforcement is also about protecting civilians, even when people don't want to be protected. You have to go ahead to protect. So the tangent that you are going, I'm afraid this thing has gone on over and over and over and over, and you are talking about the police. And I don't know. Maybe you are going the route that I have been thinking about. Should we just leave them? Because where you are heading towards, it's about the same approach that has been used. But just to make the point that when you talk about peace enforcement, it doesn't always necessarily connote shoot and kill. It's also about radically and forcefully protecting rights.
I totally understand, and I wasn't going to a shoot to kill route. I was just saying that it's a possibility, because if a soldier is threatened, even if he's enforcing peace, and you don't take the command, how much do they know about de-escalation? They weren't trained for de-escalation. They were trained to actually do what? Collapse the escalation.
Okay, so you know, Dr. Ismail, you asked the question as to whether they have been trained or not.
Yes.
I think that the answer then settles your fears, and you know the military architecture, you know much more than I do.
I try to.
You are there. Do you think a deployment of this nature will be made without adequate training for these over 400 troops to understand the mission, why they are there?
I believe that it is good to assume that it is possible Ghana Army doesn't have a manual for everybody to know, the soldiers to know, maybe the officers may know, but the soldiers may not know, in terms of engaging in peace operation like what they are doing in Bawku. Because oftentimes we take a lot of things for granted, even in Ghana. It is possible, because I tried to get a copy of such a manual. I tried my very best, because I was doing research in this area, even to the point where I've already done a paper in this area, which I was going to give to the Ghana Armed Forces Command College Journal. But some politics arose, so I took the paper away and gave it to another journal. I never got a copy of that manual for engaging the army in domestic disturbances and civil disobedience. So if you deploy people, just as soldiers were deployed to Volta region during the flooding, the VRA flooding, there's no manual as to what they should be doing. You need to create the manual.
Okay.
When you go for international peacekeeping, there is a manual. You follow it. So for me...
That's why I asked you that direct question, because you don't serve in the army, but you teach them. At the Ghana
I help
Armed
to
Forces
teach.
Command. You have to teach them. Okay. Is it the case that there would ever be a deployment like this with a specific objective, peace enforcement, taking into consideration the changing dynamics of the conflict in that area, that these personnel would be deployed without they being trained for the mission?
You see, deployment, sometimes you get a little bit of briefing before you go. But in terms of even going through simulation exercise, in case a situation arises and how you're going to handle it, that I can say without knowing, they probably didn't do that. Because, look, the average training of a soldier is to, counter actions that have been directed at you, the nation, or third parties. So I haven't seen that kind of training going on. I've been very aware of the kind of training that goes on. And I'm not criticizing Ghana Army.
Yeah,
I'm trying to say they need to prepare soldiers better in order to avoid situations like we saw in Nigeria.
The excesses.
The officers are well trained, but the soldiers are not the way that they should be. The attention often goes to the officers, and the soldiers are trained to shoot to kill. And that's their job. And so for me, I want on-site training going on, even as they are doing this job in Bawku, so that we don't bring somebody to book. Because after they shoot somebody in defense of themselves or third parties, then we're going to set up a commission to find out why it happened. That's a waste of time. The person who shoots someone, I don't care how far away the person is, you never forget the person you shot. Even if you don't see the face so clearly, it is always hunting you. I don't want soldiers to end up with post-traumatic stress disorder. We don't even do debriefing when they go to peacekeeping. When they come back, we don't do debriefing in this country.
But taking into
so why would there be a manual for them to engage?
Right, but Doc, let me say with you. Taking into consideration the fluid and evolving nature of the conflict in Bawku, there's been other arguments as well by your colleagues in the security sector that the presence of the military is needed. What has been done now in the shift of focus should have actually been the next phase, long time ago, to achieve that optimum results of whipping all the sides in line to appreciate why there's a need for peace in there. What's your take on this?
It's okay for people to have different approaches to this conflict situation. The Asante Hene Otumfuo is doing the best he can to resolve. The question is, are the people ready for a resolution? How long would the peace operation in Bawku last? The moment you leave, it doesn't mean you've solved the problem. And so for me, I think sometimes you have to allow people to exhaust their primary obligations to each other. If that means the ultimate destruction of each other, I think sometimes society has to be a bit ready. In the Bible, the Israelis were sometimes allowed by God Almighty to fight.
Do we have the military police in the army?
Of course we do. Okay. And they are very good.
What's your reckoning of how much we invest in peacekeeping or peace-building strategies?
The issues the Bawku conflict is costing this country oodles of money. And by the time the peace operation is done, imagine feeding and taking care of 400 and more officers every day. It's not a joke. It's like running a big 4-star hotel, 5-star hotel. The cost of it is very huge. And we could avoid all of this if peace will prevail. But sometimes the transactional cost is insignificant when you look at the total effect on the nation. And it's not just Bawku that we have Kusasis and Mamprusis. They are all over Ghana. They have the freedom to move and settle anywhere. And if we don't handle the center of the conflict, it could spread. And that is why government is being very proactive. And I support the commander-in-chief of the commander he's giving. My only objection here is that I suspect that our soldiers were not well prepared. How many psychologists have they deployed with the 400 people? They need advice. Who is taking care of their families? The fear of their wives, the fear of their children. Who is taking care of that? Is there any provision for that? There is nothing like that. I can tell you that. We deploy the soldiers because they are fodder. We need to treat them also as human beings. They need help. They need psychological intervention in the field and after the event. We don't do any of it. So for me, I think it is a good thing, but the President John Dramani Mahama, is doing his best to make sure Ghana is actually open for business. And if so, we can't have pockets of conflicts all over the place. Bawku has become a no-go area for a number of people because of the conflict. Which businessman or woman is going to invest in Bawku? Nobody. So for me, I think President Mahama should do a lot more for the soldiers that they have deployed. All the security forces that they have deployed. There should be a lot more, not just giving them the ammunition, not just giving them the food, the drink, and all of that, but take care of them also before they themselves become weaponized and then react to, in a very negative way, to the people that they are there to support and to protect. So I agree with Professor Gampo that yes, the goal is to protect, but when you are protecting people and they turn against you, the law allows you to shoot them. Okay. And I will be one of the first people to support that idea.
Well, you talk about the briefing. I'll come to you. The Chief of Army Staff, Major General Lawrence Kweku Betanu, was captured. In fact, we have our man moving with the team, the military detachment on the ground, giving us updates of what's happening every step of the way. This is what the Chief of Army Staff said to the over 400 personnel who went to augment the military presence in Bawku on the day they arrived. Take a look.
Sagudagu, that exercise, we have to review and transform it into a real-time operation to deal with the issue in the Bawku area and other outlining areas. Is that very clear? Yes, and are we prepared for that? Yes, are we prepared for that? Yes, so, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. So, as you assembled here, we are no longer going to undertake an exercise, but we are rather going to mount an operation, reinforce our colleagues on exercise Operation Madaburi, and sanitize the area very well. As we used to say in others, to return to, when I said to return to our families, some young ones corrected me that I should say return to our loved ones.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We finish and then we return to our loved ones. But once again, well done for a good job done today, professionally.
So that's the Chief of Army Staff says, is sanitize the area. It says, congratulating them, giving them details of, you know, what they have to do. It's portions of it we captured. The other parts of it from our correspondent who was with them indicated that he's just told me that there was actually a lengthy period of briefing and giving them details of their mission in there and what they have to do. The Chief of Army Staff did that. So that I just needed to put that on record as well. Dr. Zato, briefly. Yes, I know. Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I know your limitations in talking on this matter, so make it brief for me.
Thank you. I know Bawku. I've been to Bawku before. I think I lived in Bawku for about a week or so. I have family members, close family members. My big brother, Chester Zato, lived there. My brother, Bob Zato, attended Bawku Secondary School. My sister, Abigail Zato, attended Bawku Secondary School. I have other family members. Professor Roger Canton lived basically all his professional life working in Bawku and helping Madagascar. So I know a lot of people in Bawku. And when I was growing up, there was a Bawku that I know. The Bawku that was a route to Togo through a town called Sankasi. And almost everybody there, if you saw somebody selling a piece of jeans in Tumu, that jeans almost basically came through Sankasi, through Bawku to Tumu. So all the businessmen will go to Bawku and pass through to Togo and buy the things and come. Very vibrant, nice town of head. This is just, I pray and I hope that peace will come to Bawku. I pray and hope that brothers and sisters will put down their swords and will meet on the table of reconciliation. I pray and hope that these people that have been sent there, they are peacekeepers. The soldiers, the police, the intelligence agencies. And the Holy Bible in Matthew 5:9 says, blessed are the peacekeepers, for they'll be called children of God. So please, you are peacekeepers. The people you are meeting are your fellow colleagues. They are your countrymen. I pray you exercise maximum restraint, and I pray you don't become trigger-happy cops. And I pray that you understand that the nuances involved in peace. But there's one thing that we must talk about, and if we don't do that, we are doing a disservice to ourselves. The politics of this case. There's an elephant in the room.
I wanted us to.
Yes, I know. It's part. There's an elephant in the room. We've not talked about that elephant. It's a very big, huge elephant in the room.
The focus of the conversation was, because if we get into the politics of it, we are not ending.
Okay, I'm not.
I just wanted. That's why I haven't even introduced it since we started the conversation.
Okay.
The focus has been on the security approach. And the review and the approaching approach. Yes. Lawyer.
So, Alfred, you see, this is what I see about the Bawku conflict. It cuts deep. And when a conflict cuts that deep, it requires solutions that are deep, thorough, and reflect a consensus building. You know, it's akin to applying a plaster to a wound without first dressing it. What this renewed conflict is telling us is that previous attempts at settlement have been forced on the people. Because when a conflict is that deep, there must be consensus building. And their unacceptable differences must be resolved. I think we need to put in place a string of measures. And I was glad when Doc talked about...
which of the docs?
I'm talking about...
Dr. Ismail Norman.
Yes, right. Dr. Norman talked about the bit about the discipline force. I think we need the military that we've deployed to Bawku must be disciplined.
Right.
And that is very important. We need a discipline force. And again, Alfred, any attempt at breaking peace at Bawku must have the participation of the youth. These are the people who will be inheriting whether the conflict or the peace.
Sure.
So you need to involve the youth. So you see, I'm glad to hear the president say we are almost there.
Yes.
But my caution will be, let's not force a negotiation. Okay. Let's make sure that we are able to bring the two factions to the table.
Great.
involve the youth.
Thank you.
Yeah, but
For example,
if you say let's not force negotiation,
I want you to make your point. Because I have limited time. So
you say let's not force negotiation. Then what are you talking about?
No, so
you're ceding part of your time.
You see, when I say let's not force the negotiation,
yeah,
I'm trying to say that previous attempt at settlements, when you see the renewed conflict, it tells you that the previous attempt at settlements have been unsuccessful.
Thank you. All right.
So you see, my point is that it is very crucial to prioritize de-escalation and negotiation in finding solutions to some of these conflicts. The use of force would always have to come in when all other options, have failed, and there is always a threat to human life and all that. But so you look at the Bawku conflict and then ask yourself, have we explored the route of negotiation, de-escalation? Have we explored the route of engaging people in talks? And I think all these things have been done. It is important for us to put it out there that long ago, Kandapa was telling us that they were spending over 6 million cedis a month just to deploy soldiers to maintain a certain peace. Okay. You know how much that money can do for the generality of the population of Ghana? And so my view is that it is a good decision to move from peace keeping to peace enforcement with the view to protecting life and property. And I side with you that in doing so, see, sometimes the soldiers too, when they go there, if you don't take care and they are so annoyed, then they may do things, out of order. But it is important that we also tell them that even in the era of peace enforcement, they should treat human beings as human beings. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Norte says the conflict process is a journey and not a destination. Discussions on segment of the process are good, but there is a lot that needs to be discussed and executed diligently. I thank you very much. I do appreciate you. Thank you so much, Dr. Richard Amakuba. Thank you for coming. Also to you, Dr. Ishmael Norman, thank you so much. And we'll be having a lot more of you in the coming weeks. Also to you as well, Dr. Joshua Zato, thank you so much for coming. And also, Lawyer Bracco Powers, thank you. Yes, this is the first time on the show. Thank you so much, and we'll certainly be having more of you as well as we go on. Professor Ransford Jampo, do appreciate you coming. Thank you so much. Martin Pebo as well joined us on Zoom. Thank you very much for joining us. And then also Joe Jackson joined us earlier. Do appreciate you as well. And to you, our viewers, thank you so much for always making a day to be with us. Join us again same time next week. Do have a great weekend. I'm Alfred Ocansey. Good morning.
La